Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Do me a favor if you could. Give me a 5 by 5. Let me know how you guys are reading me. And we're going to go ahead and start. Now, I know you guys are used to me starting with the music and highlighting your comments and greeting everybody, but today is going to be a little bit different. I was trying to do a fun live stream today. I even got the boot here, but look, we got to have a conversation about what's happened today. I will acknowledge though, Kurt 24 was first, so congratulations, Kurt 24, who was first on accident, I presume. Congratulations, Kurt deserves, of course, at least two crisp thumbs up. So welcome, brother. I have C&T Designs and Arms backstage. We're going to jump in together in just a moment. So because this is going to be a hot topic that a lot of other people are going to jump in on, I know that they're not going to want to deal with 10 minutes of me greeting everybody. So I want to start off by saying thank you, Kurt24, for being first. Thank you to all the channel members out here that are supporting us. There will be more of a conversational piece of the stream after we kind of hit some of the topics, and then we'll converse, answer questions, and all that stuff. I want to start by saying this is not any legal advice. I don't offer legal advice. If you take legal advice from me, you're stealing. Shout out to CRS Firearms. And with that said, we're just having a conversation. So I will go ahead and bring in our guest for the day, which is C&T Designs and Arms. Hold on. Boop, boop, boop. Coop, what's up, brother? How's it going?
Man, it's going. It's another day. Um, another day, another infringement.
Yeah, I know, right?
That kind of feel.
5 by 5, nice. Hell yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. As you can see, I'm not running my typical equipment. I'm streaming on a different device, literally using AirPods. So we're gonna switch it up. No mic, no mixer, no nothing. We're raw dogging it. We're thugging it out, if you will. So guys, you guys have kind of seen over the last year and 4 months, there's been a couple things that the ATF has been hyper focused on, and this has been unfinished frames and receivers, and this has been braces, and we're going to dive into both. Before we do, if you could, Coop with C&T Designs and Arms, let everyone know who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
Well, I'm Coop, C&T Designs and Arms. I do a lot of plasma cuts. I talk a lot about gun laws, and we cover things from, well, basically anything to do with infringements from our nice little federal government and state government. So,
Facts.
cover a lot of stuff that people don't necessarily listen to every day, like Supreme Court arguments or oral arguments in gun cases. Um, because, well, I mean, why not inform the people about how the government's got their boot on their neck and they just don't realize it?
Facts. Yeah, and I will say, so Coop's channel, C&T Designs and Arms on YouTube, is a highly underrated channel, and you guys need to go subscribe because he goes through shit at a really high level. He's very thorough, and this is something that these are the kinds of things that it's important that we go through in detail and understand together at a high level. So I recommend all y'all check him out. Go give him a like and a follow and all that stuff.
Yeah. So what people have to understand about my channel a lot of the time, now I do some short stuff, but a lot of the time my stuff is really long form stuff. Um, when you go through like a congressional hearing, like I do a lot of times whenever something about firearms comes up, that stream's going to go for 3 hours, 4 hours,
Yeah.
sometimes longer, depending. I mean, we've gone shit as long as like 10 hours covering a stream, or
Yeah.
covering. So
Yeah. I was there. I was there for some of
yeah,
them. Yeah, that shit. I mean, it's a lot to cover, especially when you're like literally live streaming the actual, shit going on in the government. Um,
yeah. I mean, you look at G23 covered some of the stuff going on with 114 in Oregon. And one of his streams, when he covering the whole hearing, that was like 8 hours and some change.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you go as long as they go. So, and
Oh,
I, and I,
dang.
I have tried to watch Blazing Saddles on a couple of streams, but we kept getting shut down.
Yeah, yeah, they'll do that to you. It looks like Kurt 24 is gifting channel memberships. And guys, I
Yeah, but
apologize. They don't show me that. And actually, Kurt is sending me a picture. Okay, so Key ASC just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you guys for telling me. And Kurt, I see your messages, but I can't open them up right now. So Key ASC gifted 5 memberships, and Kurt 24 just gifted 5 memberships. So thank you guys. Let's give them some love in chat as well.
hell yeah.
Hey, Latin Reaper, dang, this is somebody from MGB's community. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it.
Shit, yeah, man. Come on in.
Hell yeah.
Kick off your shoes, unload your gun, set it to the side, because we're fixing to get into some shit that may make you want to pull around or desk pop one. So
Yeah, for real. Welcome new members. Hell yeah, thank you guys. And we'll get, so all you guys out there, we will get into, right after we're done having the conversation, we'll get into the greeting of members and, and having a conversation, answering questions and all that. So love all y'all. Thank you. And for everybody listening that's not typically here, it's because, we typically do that first. So so I wanted to bring this up. I figured it was really important to have this conversation. Today, the ATF had put out an open letter, and in the open letter, they had specifically said that 80% or unfinished frames and receivers, like Polymer 80 and Lone Wolf, specifically, they cited both of those two,
I think we got
were
it
now
up.
firearms. Oh, do you have it?
They mentioned Polymer 80, Lone Wolf, and similar semi-automatic pistol frames is what the heading of the letter says.
Okay, let's see.
So therefore, they cover anything from, if Strike 80 decided to do stuff, anybody making an unfinished frame or frame, that's what they got covered.
The AFT and the Constitution doesn't matter. Dude, shit, my bad. I can't even read it. I don't know if it's the way it's saved, but it's all good.
Yeah,
We can.
basically to share that, I had to pull it over to like a PowerPoint slide. So it'll probably show a little bit better on the screen, but
Yeah, no, it's all good. Basically, the most important things to hit here, I want to kind of draw the timeline. So initially, this was like a year and 4 months ago. The ATF openly said that they were going after unfinished firearms and receivers and braces. And this has been, basically August to August of, 22 or 21 to 22. And then from August 24th to where we are now, they did what they did with Polymer 80s. And they said openly several times that the frame is only a firearm if it's readily convertible, and that what that means is the frame and the jig, templates, instructions, whatever, together, all in one kit. Okay, and then from August 24th till now, that has been the way that they had described it. So kind of where the industry has gone is you can purchase frame blanks from somewhere else, and then you can purchase jigs from somewhere else. I started a jig website selling jigs specifically for that reason. And then there's an ATF agent on video literally explaining that to that exact, like saying that exactly, that it's only readily convertible, it's only a firearm if the frame and the jig and tools, templates, whatever, are together. And then today, they just casually drop a fucking letter, an open letter that says, actually, any unfinished frame or receiver is a firearm, period. Specifically citing the Polymer 80 and the Lone Wolf and others like it, which there are, of course, others like it. Now, the craziest thing is that through all of this, there's been no act of Congress, there's been no legislation, there's been no actual law drafted. This they didn't even put on the federal registry. They
Uh,
literally just dropped a letter. They basically announced it. And frankly, I was torn, and I mentioned this, I was torn on even doing a stream about this at all because I don't want to do the ATF's job for them. I don't want to be like the onus is on the ATF to communicate that with the United States. I didn't want to be doing their job for them, but honestly, it's already out. Everybody's already talking about it. Everybody's already having the conversation, and I wouldn't feel right by not addressing it in this stream. You know, at least having
well,
the conversation about it.
yeah. Well, the thing is you know yourself that a lot of gun owners and stuff, they're not out there getting informed about this stuff. And the infringement that the government's pushing and why the ATF isn't allowed to do this kind of stuff. So, you know, informing people of it isn't necessarily to me doing the ATF's job, but it is letting people know that, hey, this is the type of stuff that's happening while you're over there sleeping. You're not paying attention. This is the kind of nut kick that the government's doing to you, and they're literally going to put thousands of people out of business,
Yeah,
and they're going to make many more felons because open letter or not, I guarantee you there are a lot of people that aren't going to see this.
yeah.
So they're going to continue to sell 80% frames until the ATF walks into their store and goes,
This
you've been
is
selling firearms without a license and you're going to jail.
yeah. This is going to be impacting hundreds of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Every single company that sells parts, every single company that sells, blanks, whatever, parts, slides, even jigs, right? I could see, an issue in the future with just selling jigs, for an example.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, this, if there are no blanks, then I could see jigs completely disappearing, right? Which is my business. So, I mean, this affects me personally. Now, again, I've always said, like, I'm not doing this right now to sustain my life. Um, I mentioned that I'm close to. I would like to, right? I would like to just do
Yeah.
firearm related shit, like to because that's what I love. I love building and I love helping other people build as well. But the fucked up thing here is that I saw somebody mention, they didn't like do it sneaky. I forgot what exactly they said. They weren't like sneaky about it. They just changed their opinion. That's the thing, though. Their opinion. So what was it? They didn't lie. They just changed their opinion. And I didn't say they were lying. You may have been referring to somebody else. But the difference is that changing their opinion without any act of Congress, any legislation, not even putting it up on the federal registry for comment, which we'd already done that in August of 2021. And there were hundreds of thousands of comments against both unfinished frames and receivers and pistol braces. They didn't even put it up on the federal registry. They just casually dropped this shit.
Well,
Like,
the thing is their opinion shouldn't matter in the first goddamn place.
exactly.
There
They
are
shouldn't be able to.
definitions of firearms and what firearms are, a legal definition. So the legal definition is what should count. If they want something changed, they are supposed to go to Congress and ask Congress to make a law and then pass a law saying that these frames are now considered firearms.
This
That's
is the
the
same thing.
way.
This, this is the same thing as the FDA controlling flour, grain
Mhm.
or sugar, saying that because those can be turned into a cake, those ingredients themselves are the cake, which is fucking ridiculous.
Yes. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing that we looked at with, solvent traps, and plenty of other things where the ATF has no legal authority to just redefine something. This is what I get
Especially,
pissed off, with like the FRT triggers and stuff. There's a legal definition of a machine gun in the way it operates. Period. Anything outside of that legal definition shouldn't count. There shouldn't be, and it should terrify everybody. When
yeah,
they can redefine something, well, that's when you get into, well, hey, you know what? All of these pistol braces, well, they're or brace firearms, well, now all of a sudden they're all SBRs, and you are in illegal possession of an SBR.
well, and
Or
on that, just so everyone knows, between tomorrow and the 29th, the pistol brace rule is going to be introduced. So there's 100% likelihood, no question at all, between tomorrow and the 29th. Let's say between tomorrow and New Year's Eve, the pistol brace rule change, whatever you want to call it, because it's not law,
no,
but they'll be enforcing law, right? Like obviously they'll be enforcing law, and we're gonna touch on that too. But the I the thing that pisses me off and why I'm so frustrated is because yes, people are saying, but they just changed their mind, and but whatever. Okay, here's the issue. So a brace exists. Okay, I'm just using this as an example. They just changed their mind. A brace exists. The brace is brought to the ATF. They say this brace is not a stock. They look at it and say, okay, this brace is not a stock. Allowed. This brace is allowed. Then they later come back and say this brace allowed, but you can't shoulder it. And then they come back later and say, okay, this brace allowed, but you can shoulder it. Then they come back and say this brace is not allowed. Like they're going to continuously change their mind. And when they're given the ability to regulate accessories, and what they said specifically in this open letter that they posted, which they're effectively changing law, like under the risk of obtaining a felony, they're changing law. Okay, they're saying in their own words that these unfinished frames and receivers are fucking non-functional. They're non-functional. So if they're non-functional, how are they non-functional and categorized under the GCA, the 1968 Gun Control Act?
and see, this is Timbo said something earlier about 70 or now 79%, receivers. First of all, 80% receivers was just an industry term that they came up with to
Yeah.
describe unfinished frame of receiver. There's no hard line on, 80%, 70%, none of that shit. Um, this will basically go all the way down to a 0% receiver will now be a freaking firearm now. If you have a block of aluminum that is shaped like a receiver, that is now a firearm. If I have a piece of plastic, say I printed one out and I completely solid filled the mag well, everything, guess what? That's now a firearm.
I mean, it could be. I mean, I think for some situations, like if it was just a literal block of aluminum, it would probably be okay. But you take that block of aluminum and set it next to a Ghost Gunner 3,
It's a
then that
firearm.
may be kind of like a yeah constructive possession type thing. And I know, like you're saying, the percentage thing, like you mentioned, was an industry term. It wasn't like an actual,
No,
well, 80% of them were,
this
but
this is this is what should matter. If I can put a barrel and all the parts into it and I can make a functional firearm, that should be a finished frame. If I can't, no matter what's blocked in it, well then that's not a functional frame. That's logically how this should work. But they keep moving this line backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards, um, to where anything's going to be a fire, anything's going to be a suppressor. If I have a piece of pipe, if I take a mag light that's threaded on both ends and I take the caps off of it or something like that and just have a tube, all of a sudden that could be a suppressor part.
Well, it's funny you say that because in the original, um, actually, I don't think it was the original redefinition. It was in their clarification letter, which it's funny because in when the ATF made their original like 364 page document for the redefinition of frames and receivers, after they made that, at the very end of it, they say, this can never be changed. This can
Yeah.
never be changed. It can never be amended, even in the presence of a new Supreme Court decision. This can never be changed and amended. And then 2 months later, they amended it. They added a 24-page
Yeah.
clarification letter. And in that clarification letter, they stated a piece of pipe from Home Depot as an example of a silencer. Like that's how crazy this is.
Yeah.
This is getting.
And then that's where this rule with pistol frames is. You know, if again, there is a legal definition of what a firearm is. There's a legal definition on what a frame is and what a receiver is. Those are legal definitions. They are in the text of the law. That's what should matter. The ATF legally can't come in and amend that without going through Congress. But
Yeah.
these rule changes are going to be treated like a law. They are going to carry the force of law, which means no matter how unconstitutional that regulation is, guess what? They will ship your happy ass off to jail for it.
Yeah.
And you know, while this is being fought out in court, there are going to be people losing their livelihoods and going to jail over this. And even when it's overturned, those people are still screwed. You know, they
Yep.
can't go back and recover anything from the government on that.
That's what I'm saying, man. They're making decisions like this in an open letter, announcing it with no. I mean, of course, you could say, well, you knew they were coming for it. You knew they were making changes. You knew, yeah, but they already changed it and then said that it can never be changed. And then they came back and made other changes. Then they came back and made other changes. This is classic ATF of them making decisions and then coming back and reneging and changing it again and changing it again. This is,
Well, this is well, it's classic government, and they always play the game of we win, you lose. That's the game they play. It's where
yeah,
I constantly say, you know, that the Constitution does not matter to these people. Your constitutional rights don't matter to these people. They will play the game and they play to win, and you're going to be set up to lose regardless. It's the same reason we're still dealing with all this shit even after brewing. You've got all these states and all these people who are just saying, "Screw y'all, and we don't give a shit what the Supreme Court says." You know,
yeah,
the Supreme Court's supposed to be the law of the land.
yeah. I mean,
What these people are playing at is they're going to keep doing this stuff until they can get the Supreme Court back to a leftist side, and then that leftist side's going to uphold this shit.
possibly. I mean, I right now I'm pissed because you're talking hundreds of companies, parts companies, companies that sell frames, whatever, that are going to be heavily affected by this. I mean, anybody could transition to other things, and um, you know, but think about all the people, all the employees, all the owners, all the people that are going to be impacted by this, and they're just running around making decisions through open letters, which is basically the fucking equivalent of an announcement. Again, no act of Congress, no
Yep.
legislation, no federal registry, no comment period, no nothing, just boom, today to make an announcement like that. Now, the odd thing, which I don't know, and there's a lot that we don't know in this situation, the odd thing is that they sent this letter to all FFLs. So I'm confused by that because I'm like, okay, why wouldn't you send it to all FFLs, all parts companies, all like it's I guess that's just their biggest uh you know mouthpiece, I guess. I don't know.
You know, there's a place right up the road from me, and I've bought products from them in the past. They're not an FFL. I talked to the owner. The owner used to have an FFL, and it just became so much trouble. He gave his FFL up, but he sells 80% lowers for pistol frames and 80% lowers for ARs. Okay, he's not going to get that letter. He's not an FFL.
Yeah.
There are plenty of other places out there like that are selling these products that aren't FFLs because
Yeah,
they're not
most
selling firearms.
yeah, most aren't. And that's the crazy thing is that in this, excuse me, in this open letter, it says that they are restricting unfinished frames and receivers, which are non-functional frames. Okay, so they admit to them being non-functional. One,
Well,
okay.
again,
Two,
they're playing fast and loose with definitions there because they went from unfinished now to unfunctional.
well, this is in like within two sentences of each other
Yeah,
too. And they're calling the unfinished frames and receivers non-functional. So they
yeah,
are, but they're saying in the letter, in the open letter that they posted today, that they're non-functional. Okay, so if they're unfinished and non-functional, then how could they fall under the 1968 Gun Control Act
they don't.
as a frame or receiver, right? Because it has to house the trigger fire control group, the bolt carrier slide, that none of these apply. So it's preposterous that they would try to make this
Well,
assertion
again,
randomly with an open letter.
yeah, again, it's another case where, and I said it before, where no matter what happens, that kind of affirms some of our rights. The government agencies are going to do whatever they want to do, and then like I said, it's going to take years to challenge this in court in a lot of cases. And while this is being challenged in court, you're still going to see people's businesses and lives destroyed. You're still going to see people go to jail over this shit. And when this stuff is overturned, if it is overturned, and the ATF is put in check, well, these people's lives are still going to be destroyed. They're not going to get anything back. It's not like they go to the government and be like, look, I lost so much money because of your bullshit ruling, and I'm going to recover that from you.
Yeah. And
Or
not only all the companies, all the employees, right? Even just the financial aspect aside, because you're totally right. But even with that aside, and let's say, okay, so all of us as citizens of the United States of America, all of our natural rights that you guys, by the way, like the ATF and any sworn officer is taking an oath to the Constitution of the United States, right?
hmm,
They're swearing to protect our rights. And this is also the same organization that put out this open letter that's pushing all this infringement. Like this just blows my mind. I cannot even like I can't even like fathom it.
well,
Think of the just the average Joe. All of our human rights, our civil rights, our right to self-preservation, all of that's being stepped on. What are our remedies? Like what if a lot of people are saying like, you know what? Okay, it's fine, but the Supreme Court will like turn it over. Okay, what in 2, 4, 6, or 8 years?
if
Then
you ask,
all of our natural rights will be restored to build firearms? Like fuck that.
well, it's yeah, I've said it on my streams before. Look, the Constitution doesn't matter to these people, and it hasn't mattered to them in a very, very long time. This isn't about safety. This isn't about you know keeping people safe and saving lives. This is all about control. Every single bit of it. Because if you look at if you break down firearms, if you break down firearms murders, and if you break down defensive uses of firearms where lives were saved, there are many more lives saved with firearms that are actually taken by firearms.
For sure.
So if you banned all firearms today, yeah, well, one or two people might not commit suicide, but then you're taking a couple of hundred other people and you are putting them basically in the hands of criminals that are going to hurt them, rape them, kill them, steal their stuff, beat them up, serious bodily injury. Um,
Yeah. we've had the conversation about building firearms like this, like let's say a P80 for an example. That's that's a craft. When done properly, that shit is a craft.
Yeah.
And when you look at like, and I wish there were actual, stats on this, and you see it all the time. You see like, videos posted of like, a guy that had a P80 in Walmart that cops shot in the head. That was a serialized P80 in California that
Mhm.
had the serial numbers defaced on it, right? Like, but they always want to spin it to say, oh, it was a ghost gun. He had a
Well,
ghost gun.
yeah, well, they mention ghost guns all the time, but they never lay out how many of those so-called ghost guns were guns that had serial numbers removed. Then they never will put that stat out there because, let's be honest, like say it takes some skill, like the 80% that I'm carrying right now that I carry every day. Okay, I had some issues with that gun, function issues when I first built it, and I had to go in and tune it and fix some issues with it and get it running right. That takes some craftsmanship. That takes some skill. I can remove the serial number on a gun with a piece of concrete just sitting there
Yeah,
scraping. I can deface the serial number to where they won't be able to recover it. That takes no skill.
yeah,
That's a monkey with a fucking rock. Um, so this whole thing where we're going to stop these ghost guns from being out there, that's a bunch of horseshit.
yeah,
Um, damn Josh Shapiro, when he testified on that stuff in front of Congress, he's a goddamn liar. Um, and when I covered that stream, I like to lost my mind because he was
yeah,
talking about, he watched them at a gun show and they buy a P80 at one table and then they go right next door to this other table and they had this known white supremacist felon over there that was finishing all the guns and stuff for them. Okay. If they saw that, dude should have been arrested right there because one, he was actually making firearms. So as soon as he finished a frame, he was a felon in possession of a firearm. Two, he's making firearms for someone else, finishing frames. That's another one that's against the law. Then he's transferring in that process, he's transferring this firearm to other people that he knew were felons. So he's giving firearms to a felon. There were so many felonies that went on in that story that there was
yeah.
no. If that did happen, they had plenty of reasons to arrest everybody there.
Not to mention the same like NBC reporter that
Mm-hmm.
literally bought a kit, brought it back, had someone else complete it, and then took it for himself. Like they literally committed a felony on camera. It's like the chick that took an AR-15 and cut it in half, right? But all she did was make an illegal
Yeah,
SBR.
she made an SDR. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to
Um,
destroy this gun and just okay. All you did was you cut off. I mean, you made it a single shot rifle. That's
yeah.
all you did.
You made it a single shot unregistered short barrel rifle. Rose Blight, thank you for the super chat, $10 super chat. She says, I tried to buy an unfinished receiver today on Cheaper Than Dirt. It requires to be sent to an FFL per BATFE rule change, which is the ATF. The bitch ass alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosive rule change. Thank you, Rose Blight. Appreciate you. Now, I gotta say, of course, like we don't know everything that's going on, right? I'm confused as to why they're just sending this to FFLs, if that's their, just their highest and best, communication, uh, platform. I don't know. There's got to be a reason, but
Well, they don't know the other stores that are selling um, the 80%, like that place
yeah,
I was talking about up the road. They're not an FFL. They're a
yeah,
pawn shop. Well, yeah, they still do some pawn. They sell mostly new goods, but they're not an FFL. So the ATF has no idea what they're selling unless they go through and they track, who's ordering from P80 and stuff like that, which they'll do. But so sending them just to FFLs, that was their first point of contact.
yeah. 404, good point. The ability to trace a firearm has never prevented a single
No,
crime ever. Fact.
it's
And
always
your point
after the
is,
fact, and most of the time, all that trace does is tell you that that gun was stolen and who it was
Yeah.
stolen from.
Yeah.
That's all
Same
that
thing.
proof does.
If someone's driving around in, a car that's stolen, but just hasn't been reported stolen yet, it's not going to do anything to prevent crime. There's no sense in what they're doing.
No, I mean
Let me see.
I know a couple cats. Hell, my uncle was one of them, where he had a lot of guns stolen from his house years ago. Um, well, hell, it's probably been 20 years ago now. But when there were crimes committed with those firearms, when they did the trace, all they did was figured out that they were stolen from my uncle, and my uncle did end up getting the guns back. After everything was said and done. But it
Yeah.
didn't stop the crime. It didn't stop anybody from being murdered or shot with those firearms.
Yep.
You
Facts.
know, the only thing that they're looking to do when they're pushing this shit is they're going to push, of course, the universal background check. Then they're going to push a registry because there's no way to support universal background checks without a registry. And then there's going to have to be some sort of a way to ensure that you still have those firearms every single year. So, I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to send you a form every year with your taxes where you have to, swear out that you still have the firearms that are supposed to be registered to you.
Well, I mean, we have proven that 100% the ATF does have a registry, and they're using OCR to read millions and millions of hundreds of millions of 4473s that are all in shipping containers at 244 Needy Road, Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Just saying. But here's the reason that I felt compelled to bring this up, because I'm sitting here just stewing, right? Because a lot of you guys know that this year I started a website. It's dldhardware.com, and I literally just sell jigs and gunsmithing parts and stuff like that. And any I don't even want to call it law, any rule or rule change or open letter, like in this case, anything that affects blanks is clearly going to affect, my personal business as well. But not only that, my natural rights and y'all's natural rights too, your rights that are supposed to be protected by the Constitution of the United States. And this has happened with no act of Congress, no legislation. This has happened with no federal registry, nothing being posted on the federal registry. This has happened with no comment period, nothing at all. This is literally dropped via an announcement via an open letter. And all of a sudden they're just saying, whoops, I'm going to change my mind and now say that these Polymer 80 unfinished frames and receivers and these Lone Wolf unfinished frames and receivers that are non-functional are now all of a sudden firearms, which is fucked. So if anybody needs jigs, y'all can go to dldhardware.com. I may even do a fucking discount code for this shit.
Well,
And by the way,
rule.
I did have to say that I was just really, really happy that hell yeah, exercise and freedom. I appreciate you. I was really happy because I just noticed that today, aside from a few small exceptions, I have literally handwritten F the ATF on almost 1,300 jigs that I've sold in the past 4 months. So there you go. That's for y'all.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, it's just ruling by edict is all it is.
Yep, that is
They make
exactly what it is.
something illegal, and they don't care whether they just crush people's lives with it.
Yeah. A court did not rule on this matter. There are open cases in Delaware and in Texas, and there were temporary injunctions for two specific companies saying that those two specific companies can continue to sell frames and jigs, tooling, and shit like that together. But that's it, those two companies. So those situations extend only to those two companies. They do not extend to everyone.
Well, and this open letter blows that out of the water because they can still sell those things, but they're going to have to sell them through FFLs now.
See, I don't know, because maybe their temporary injunctions allow them to continue to operate even around this open letter. I'm not sure.
From the sound of this open letter, they're saying, yeah, you can keep selling these and you can sell them with frames and all that, but now that's going to have to go through an FFL. I don't see any exception in that letter for any companies.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you know um, what happens with those two companies because they were just. I mean, it's been weeks, like a few weeks ago, 3 maybe 4 weeks ago. These two companies, one in Texas, one in Delaware, that they allowed them for a temporary time. It's
Mm-hmm.
a temporary injunction that they can operate with, business as usual. But keep in mind that this is also after months and months and months of not being able to operate as they typically could prior to all this, and this is after paying God knows how much for lawyer expenses, court costs, and all that shit. Like, they don't understand how many lives the ATF doesn't understand. I mean, guys, I don't ever want it to sound like I'm talking to y'all. They don't understand, the ATF, how many lives they're changing and impacting by making decisions like this. And that's why
And,
I'm pissed off.
and see, I think they do understand it. They just don't care. They don't care at all that they're destroying people's lives or that they're going to put
It's probably
people in
true.
prison over these things. It's no different than someone who, you know, they're not informed about gun laws and they end up with some item like they did a solvent trap. They just didn't know any better. Well, the ATF is still going to lock them up. They don't care. They don't care that that person was not a threat to anybody. That they didn't mean to break the law. They'll just say the ignorance of the law is an excuse, and they're going to prosecute it.
Yep. Yeah, tech. It's for your safety. Yeah, the illusion of safety. When when you are the only one, you the individual are the only one that's responsible for your safety, they'll pull that shit and say it's for your safety. It's for the illusion of safety, so you can feel good and feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, I tell you, let me roll out. I got something I got to square away.
You're good, brother.
All right, bro. Later.
All right, brother. Peace. John Crumb said, "Wait, come on, man. You're able to come on. Here, hang on, guys. I'll get him on real quick. Okay, get the old invite. All right, guys, give me 1 sec. I'll get him on." Okay, my apologies. All right, so I just sent the invitation out, so it'll come to him in just a minute. Um, but the reason that I was so fired up and walking in circles and jumping into live streams and talking about the shit, the reason that I felt so compelled to do this live stream and discuss it is because this is this is literal tyranny at at its finest. Like it could not get to another level of tyranny beyond this. We're talking about the same shit going back to the brace thing, right? Like braces are okay, braces are not okay, braces are okay to shoulder, braces are not okay to shoulder, then braces are okay to shoulder, then braces are going to be outlawed. And you guys will see between tomorrow and the 29th, probably and what I said earlier was between tomorrow and New Year's Eve, you will see the ATF introduce the new rule change for braces as well. So between tomorrow and New Year's, you'll see the new brace rule being introduced as well, which is more tyranny. This is giving. This goes all the way back to bump stocks. This is giving the ATF the ability to regulate accessories, and this is giving the ATF the ability to regulate shit that doesn't even fall under their purview. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, let's wait until West Virginia versus the EPA. Let's wait until the Supreme Court. Let's wait. Fuck that. This is crazy. This is where mass noncompliance, peaceful mass noncompliance is needed. You know, that's why I did this stream, so I can actually inform people of what was said today. So many people had no idea. And it's ridiculous. Crumpy, it's out there. I sent it to you, brother. Okay. Okay, so Jackson, it's always a trap. Yes, for sure. We'll destroy that open letter in federal court. I know, but that's the thing. It's like a lot of people are saying, like, yes, they can do whatever they want, right? They're dropping an open letter and they're treating it like a casual announcement, right? Even if we destroy it in court, and I'm not, I'm not trying to speak in a negative way to you. I agree with you that likely that would not hold up in court and will likely win. But the issue is that from now until then, like, what all will it cost? Time, energy, money, all that shit. What all will it cost? What all will we lose leading up to that point? And if hundreds of businesses close that sell frames, parts, and shit like that, if thousands of employees are impacted, if millions of people's rights are impacted, then what are we losing just to be right on the other side? It's total bullshit. The ATF has absolutely no right to regulate, parts, accessories, or even to their own verbiage in quotes in the same letter we're talking about. They mention unfinished frames that are non-functional. So how in the world could unfinished frames that are non-functional be classified under the 1968 Gun Control Act? It is actually impossible. So I do think it's going to take um, us taking a stand for our rights and saying no, and flipping them the bird and saying no, we won't comply. Now, I'm not saying anyone should do anything at all illegal. I'm actually saying quite the contrary. I think that if anything, what we need is us to stand up and say no, be peaceful, right? Be lawful, be peaceful, and protest and say no. Massive, massive noncompliance on a whole other scale is what we need. Yeet. Oh, all right. Dang, Leo fights back. If a law is unjust, a man is not only right to disobey it, he is obligated to do so. This is true. Hey, you can't say you were right before this and then say you're right after this. It's two separate occasions. Why don't we just give the ATF the bird and exercise our rights anyway? So here's the challenge with that. So even though what they're saying is just an open letter and it's basically just an announcement, you bet your ass they're going to exercise the fullest extent of the law behind this, right? Because if somebody's out just selling pieces of polymer, what's the harm in that? Now back it up a little bit. If someone is out on the street corner selling, unserialized, unregistered firearms, that it's a whole different conversation. So they're going to be using the fullest extent of the law for something that took no legislation, for something that took no act of Congress, for something that, wasn't on the federal registry, for something that had no comment period, for something they're literally just taking from us with a casual statement, which is bullshit. FFLs need to band together and ignore them. Let me see. They're contradicting their own sworn statements. I know that's what they do. It's the same thing like I mentioned for the braces, right? This brace is not a stock. It's okay to use on barrels less than 16 inches. Okay, great, thanks. Oh my goodness, people are shouldering these braces. Hey, you can have it, but you can't shoulder it. Okay, cool. Okay, we can't regulate this, so you can have it and you can kind of shoulder it, but okay. Oh, hey, a year later, you can't have that, and we're going to take it. And like I said, the brace rule is coming. Keep an eye out between tomorrow and New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, sorry. The brace rule is going to be introduced, and we will have 180 days to make a decision for what we're going to do. Now, the decision is going to be A, destroy all the braces, and you guys can choose to do whatever you choose. Like I'm, we may all follow different paths. Decision A is destroy all the braces, and, do whatever, all your braces. Decision B is to register all of your braced pistols as short-barreled rifles, or decision C is to just say fuck it and thug it out, and that's up to y'all. So what's going to happen with the AFT lawyers who were arguing about how a frame without a jig isn't a firearm, but with a jig and tooling is? There will be absolutely no repercussion for what they're doing at all whatsoever. There'll be nothing. I mean, they're changing their mind. They're publicly changing their mind. Now, the fact that they can uphold that change of mind with felonies will be of no mind to them at all. They won't care. And they're not going to be held accountable for it, and nothing is going to change. Which is why the general public needs to take a stand and, of course, peacefully say, "F that. We're not going to play. We're not going to play that game." They can regulate the industry. That is how it is. Don't contract with the feds. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're right now. They're basically. Oh shit! Hold on. Oh, not edit name. What's up, Crumpy?
It was my
Oh,
story, man. What are you doing? Just
I mean,
joking.
shit. Now it's not a story. Now freedom is on the line. My bad. My shit just dropped. Hold
I
on
know,
one
I know.
second.
I'm just joking with you. When I called
I mean,
you earlier, it was like you're like, when did they release this? And I was like, 15 minutes ago, because you didn't believe it at first.
dude, I was totally baffled. I honestly, I wasn't even gonna do this. I wasn't even gonna go live, but after
No,
walking in
I wanted
circles
everyone to go
for,
live. I wanted everyone to spread it. That's why I called like everyone I knew, and I was just like blowing up everyone's phones. And
but the problem, this is my issue with it. I was torn between going live and not going live, and I was torn about even speaking publicly about it. But then I saw all these people putting it out there. I was like, all right, fuck it, because I've been literally walking in a circle for hours, pissed off, yelling about what they're doing, and I was like, all right, this probably isn't healthy. So, I needed
turn off
to,
my windscreen here so you don't hear me
yeah,
breathing like Shooting Gallery, New England.
yeah. But I'm like, okay, we need to just have a conversation and let people know how this is going down, and let people know
Yeah,
that at the literal, click of a button, an open letter is published, and boom, we're hit
yeah,
with this.
yeah.
I
Well,
got to
they
piss
would.
real quick. You go ahead.
All right. Well, they were sending it out to every FFL in the country. Not only were they sending it out to every FFL, they also posted it on their Twitter. So I knew it was going out there pretty much really, really fast. There is some stuff that was said that in the Vanderstock case that the ATF did say that blanks were legal, but that is not the exact case. I talked to some lawyers after this all came out today, and they said that the way that they regulated this whole entire thing, or not regulated, but litigated the whole entire Vanderstock case, they never ever said 100% blanks are illegal. They said certain blanks are legal. They never said that all polymer blanks are illegal, and that gives them plausible deniability because what they can say is, "Hey, we are talking about 1911s or something else like that." And yeah, so it's not good. If you read the Dettelbach, that what Dettelbach was saying, it's definitely a change and it's definitely an updated definition, whether they want to admit it or not. It's something that anti-gun groups, Brady, for example, Giffords, every town has been petitioning the ATF to go ahead and redo the rule. If you guys don't know, the rule was released early before the ATF even had it done. Because the Biden White House pushed them, and that's why there's contradictory things. Did you hear what I said about the Vanderstock thing?
Yep. Yeah, I had you in my ear.
Yeah, where they never actually said that. They said, they said, "Oh, we're not banning blanks. We're just banning things with that." But what they never said was, uh, "We're not banning polymer blanks." So now they can say we were talking about 1911s.
So in the original rule change, they specifically showed the picture of the AR-15 blank with no
The
ding.
AR-15 is still legal. Yeah.
Okay. So
This is the way it was probably meant to be, but during
but
the
they never
case,
said any of that. They I'm sorry, real quick. My problem is that they dropped this 364 page rule change. And then all of us are sitting here studying this, trying to understand it, trying to understand how it impacts our lives, our freedom, our independence, our privacy, our businesses, our whatever, right? We're all in different places with this, right? And then at the end of this, it says this rule change is the final rule change. It can never be edited, amended, or changed, even in the event of a Supreme Court case that, would assume a change would be made. This final rule change cannot be made. And then 45 days
well,
after that, they dropped a 24-page clarification letter that edited it. And then now they're dropping a second one, a month and a half or whatever later, and they're editing it again. They're changing their opinion.
yeah, well, the thing is, I think this is the way they always wanted it to be, but because of the Morehouse case and the Vanderstock case, they played fast and loose with the terms. And I talked to an attorney that litigated uh, a case, one of like the big three. I'm not going to say which attorney it is or anything else like that, but I talked to him a long time ago, and he's like, dude, he's like, they wanted to ban blanks. They're playing loose with the terms,
Keep going.
and
I'm going to get rich in. Keep going.
yeah, and I think all the lawyers in all the cases try to tell the courts, hey, they're playing loose with these terms. They're going to come back and they're going to undo this stuff. But yeah, it looks like that was exactly right. Um, there's a GOA team that's working this as we speak, and GOA is closed this week, but not really because the ATF keeps on doing this stuff. But if you look at like Biden was not happy with blank still being able to be sold. And so was a lot of the other anti-gun groups. So I think this is a Christmas present for those guys. And
For
they
the
waited.
anti-gunners.
Yeah,
Not
they
so
wait.
the $13 trillion wasn't enough of a Christmas present. This
Oh,
is an
hell no.
additional Christmas present. This is why
It,
this shit is so dangerous,
it's
man.
quid pro quo, right? Right?
Yeah,
You scratch my back, I scratch your back. Oh, I got all my cameras working again on my studio. It was actually the studio computer that I was having issues earlier that controls everything that was
I got all my
malfunctioning.
equipment down. That's what you can see. I don't have my mic here in anything. I'm literally doing it old school.
All right, I'm in my studio in Delaware. I will be
Nice.
home tomorrow, so to work on this some more. 8:45 tomorrow, guys. Not gonna tell you what's happening, but pretty sure it's happening.
Is it? Does it go along with what I told them to be on the lookout for between tomorrow and New Year's Eve?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be 8:45 tomorrow. I think I can say that safely.
8:45 a.m.
Yeah, and I'll drop some news right now that no one knows
What's
about
that?
that if you want, but if you would just want to continue on the other thing.
We could do both. I could flip a coin,
All right, so you flip a coin.
or let's ask the viewers.
Do you guys want to know a piece of information that is known to about like 10 people, including government people that worked on it?
Just say info or continue. If you vote info, then he'll drop what he's mentioning, or continue. We'll just continue with the stream. Hold on. Somebody said DLD. I saw this coming when Giffords was complaining the Biden rule was not stopping the guns. Yeah.
It looks like we're getting a lot of info, so
All right.
let's go.
We'll drop
Okay,
it.
pistol amnesty period.
Oh yeah.
There is none. There is no free tax stamp per se. There is, but there isn't.
Yeah.
Basically, the IRS is the only one that can do a tax forgiveness, an amnesty thing. So they're not going that route, but they kind of are in a
But
different
they
way.
could come back
They
with the
could.
option that they chose. Yeah.
Yeah, what they are doing is saying, hey, you still owe these taxes because we can't legally tell you you don't owe them, right? But we're just not going to collect them.
So what he's talking about, guys, is for the
They're
pistol
calling it
brace
a tax
registering.
forbearance.
Yeah. So when you got it, if for those out there that are going to make the decision to register their braced pistols as an SBR, they're originally saying that there was going to be a tax amnesty. Well,
But
if you remember
IRS,
back to
the Treasury IRS, they wouldn't sign on to that, and they're the only ones that could sign on to that. So they're going to do a forbearance.
and that's also what I heard was that back in May of '86 that they got their PP slapped, and that's why we still have like 45 or 60 days of amnesty because they had to stop the amnesty and treat it differently. So now they're deferring it or whatever they're calling it. So
A
they could
forbearance.
technically, yeah, they're doing the forbearance, which means they're basically deferring the tax. They may defer it indefinitely and you may never have to pay it. But what that also means is that for the people that do choose to register their braced pistols as SBRs, they could come back to everybody and say, you all each owe $200.
Yeah, probably not, but they could.
Yeah, they could. But I mean, we all trust the government, right?
No, but too many choices. The amnesty, there is a such thing as a tax amnesty where they waive all taxes, where they can waive a tax. It's not amnesty like breaking the law and they're giving you amnesty by doing it. They're giving you amnesty from the tax. Very different than amnesty from the law.
Yeah, funny thing here, Stormson says, no, they're not collecting a tax. They're collecting names so they can collect the guns later. So that's one of the questions that I was asking is any of these, so like we said, for anybody that wasn't in here a few minutes ago, we've said it a few times, but it's highly likely that between tomorrow and New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve rather,
It's highly likely tomorrow.
yeah, most likely tomorrow, but anytime between tomorrow and New Year's Eve, that the new pistol brace rule change is going into place. At that point, you'll have 180 days to make your decision, either destroy.
120, I think it is.
Oh, I thought it was 180.
I thought it was 120. I mean, I haven't seen the full thing
Document.
because a gun rights organization that got tipped off and wasn't supposed to say anything, not GOA, went ahead and sent out a fundraising email with some of the information on it. So kind of
That's
burned my
right.
source there a little bit. I'm kind of a little bit salty about that.
Yeah, that's grimy.
Yeah,
A lot
especially
of these
when it was
companies.
like, oh my God, we're getting information. We're
Yeah, and they
getting
did it
your
like that day, like that
yeah,
same day.
yeah. I only had a couple pages. I didn't have the complete rule, so source barn, lesson learned. There we
Yeah.
go.
So when this new pistol brace rule drops, I refuse to call it law. I will call it a rule.
It is a rule. It's not a law.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, especially a lot of like content creators, people on
Well,
YouTube,
I call it
they
a de
call it law.
facto law because
Yeah.
it's not an actual law, but they're treating it as a law. So some people
Yeah.
get mad at me because they're like, "You just called it a law." They're like, "No, I called it a de facto law, which means it's not actually a law."
So that's the issue, is that it's not a law, but the penalty of breaking this rule is the full force of the law.
Yeah.
That's the thing is jacked up here.
Yeah.
I'll try to watch my language because we got more people in here.
Yeah, the penalty of breaking the rules is a felony charge. That's why I
Yeah.
call it a de facto law. It's me slamming the rule, but a lot of people don't get that I'm actually slamming the rule.
Yeah. Let me see. By this time next year, these rules will be ruled unconstitutional by the federal courts. I
We
don't
should
know.
try to get Project Veritas to work on the ATF. Project Veritas, all they do with the ATF is rip my shit off and republish it with their watermarks all over it.
They're not the only YouTube channel that does that either.
Yeah, but Project Veritas did that, and they reposted my scanned documents. That I think you were on that stream when I broke it.
Which one?
It was like Paul from Legally Armed America. I thought it was you and Rich and I. Maybe it wasn't you.
Oh yeah. I was on that
Then
day.
like 3 hours later, my article dropped. All the documents were, and I didn't watermark them on purpose, so anyone could use them for whatever reason. But Project Veritas is like, we uncovered this from our sources. It's like, no, you didn't. It's my scans. I scanned them at my house.
That's funny.
It's like, that's my table. I'll come over. I'll show you the damn table.
So this is the thing, okay? Yes, Alan, but how many of us will be dead or in prison by then? So here's the issue, and this is what I've said this whole time, is that they're taking these rules, these rule changes, and these, like this open letter, for an example, and then without any act of Congress, with no legislation, with no law at all, completely on their own authority, introducing rule changes that are just rules. But what they're doing is they're taking this and they're saying, well, this unfinished frame and receiver that is by their definition a non-functioning unfinished frame and receiver is to be treated as a firearm, considered a firearm under the 1968 Gun Control Act, the GCA, right? And then now they're taking that and they're categorizing that, they're filing it in a bucket. That bucket is 18 USC, blah, 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 whatever law here. Yeah. So any rule, anything that you do that breaks that rule, you will be breaking 18C title 112, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? But they're using the law because they're filing it under the bucket of 18 USC, whatever the hell.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I see some people talking about like the boating accident joke, right?
Oh yeah, we don't do that here, guys.
I'm gonna go on a boating accident, and right now I have about 150 ARs. Probably about 20 of them are braced. When I get back from a boating accident, I'm gonna have about 190 ARs, and about 30 of them gonna be braced. And I don't care, ATF.
Yeah,
Well, they're not, but
we
honestly,
don't have boating accidents.
they're probably not gonna come after me.
Probably not.
They're
I
gonna
mean,
go
the
after
issue.
people that don't have legal counsel. I got pretty goddamn good legal counsel, and they're probably gonna go after people without the means to defend themselves, and I have the means to defend themselves. They're gonna go after people without a platform. I have a platform, and they're gonna go after people with no connection um to the gun rights organizations, and I have that too. So they're not gonna
That's
go after
probably
me.
right.
They're gonna go after Shooter McGee out there.
Hey, Shooter McGee is an OG. Okay.
And dude, he's a great golfer.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, and that's true. I mean, I don't know. They may like look at CRS Firearms,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Look at Matt. Like,
CRS had a platform, but he didn't have the lawyers, didn't have the financial means, and didn't have the connections to
yeah,
like
that's
gun rights
true.
organizations.
But what they're doing is wrong. It is illegal, and we need to
Oh, it's Shooter
lawfully.
McGavin. Sorry.
Oh, that's
And
right, Shooter McGavin. That's right, not McGee. Um, what they're doing is wrong. What they're doing is illegal. It is literally illegal for them to do this, and we need to peacefully, lawfully voice our opposition to these rule changes, and open letters like this.
I
And I
mean,
kind of thought of a way, two ways.
can I just say one thing really quick?
Yeah, you don't need to ask me. Go ahead.
All right. By any means necessary.
Yeah. What does that mean to you?
It means exactly that. Don't give in to tyranny. Resist by any means necessary. There are steps you take, but you take those steps. If you have a red line, this is your red line, man.
Yeah. I mean, there wouldn't be somebody as stupid as, I don't know, as to go on a YouTube channel a year and 4 months ago and say what their line is publicly in front of everybody, would there be?
My line, you know where my line stands. My line stand is not one more inch.
Yeah.
I'm
I
at my red line.
Mine has just been walked over and spat on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you were kind of pissed off.
dude, I was fired up all day.
Yeah, because you didn't
After,
believe it at first when I called you.
no, dude, because here's the issue.
Dark
And
had to
this
read
is,
it on the phone with me.
yeah, I was like, send it to me right now. Because here's the thing. And I know that they're famous for this, but the first thing I'm thinking of is all the families, all the people, like everybody that's going to be negatively impacted this potentially, right? Like based on the way that I understand the letter as I've seen it, or not even the open letter, whatever they want to call it. I'm thinking about all the people it's going to impact, all the businesses, the families, the income, the livelihood, the my business, right? Like, I got DLD hardware, right? Like I sell jigs. If frames are no longer a thing, what else is no longer going to be a thing? Jigs. My business is going to be heavily impacted. And of course, this isn't just about me. This is about our natural rights. Every single person here in chat, we got 115 people in here right now. We have 117 people in here total, that all of our natural rights that are given to us by God, the universe, the whatever you believe, right? The Big Bang, I don't care, right? But by you being born, by you existing, you are guaranteed to have these natural rights protected by the Constitution. They're not gifted to you by the government. They're not on loan to you by the government. They're not a privilege from the government. These are rights that you have for being a human. And they're supposed to be guaranteed to you by the same group of people that are threatening it right now by the full extent of the law for a rule change.
Can I answer a question out there?
Yeah. Right.
JC9 wants to know, can CRS case take down the NFA? No.
No.
No, it's a criminal case.
Well, it would literally have to go up to the Supreme Court, and it wouldn't be his case.
No, yeah, but it's not like, even if the Supreme Court did vacate it, chances are it'd still only apply to that one case and not everything.
Most likely. But that would have been dope. And I know that was
yeah, too many choices.
Important.
Too many choices. Very smart guy there. He actually knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And this is exactly what we're talking about. So he's saying CRS's case is not even a Second Amendment case, strictly speaking. This is true. This is where one of the problems lies, because now we're talking, the ATF is regulating accessories like braces. And for those that didn't hear it, it's likely that the new brace rule will be introduced. I keep saying dropped, but people aren't understanding me when I say it. So it's not being dropped is not a good thing. Not dropped like forgiven, released, or bunked or whatever. The new brace rule will be implemented and introduced as early as tomorrow through the end of this month, so New Year's Eve. And the problem is that the ATF is now basically taking the ability to regulate accessories, taking the ability to regulate pieces of polymer that are, by their own admissions, pieces of polymer that are unfinished frames and receivers that are non-functional. And then they're saying that those are to be filed under the 1968 Gun Control Act, which is total horseshit. Let me ask you this. Under the 1968 GCA, what about a polymer 80 frame, for an example? What about that polymer 80 frame is described in the GCA? What about that is applicable?
Honestly, I don't think very much.
Can it take all the parts for a fire control unit?
Well, here's the thing, right?
What's up, Rich?
If they get away with this, they can ban anything. I mean, what are they gonna do?
That's what I'm saying.
Like they ban grip modules.
This is the stepping stone. This is when I said last August that like this could be their stepping stone to them restricting slides, barrels, uppers, forcing them to be serialized. And let's like picture a world where you can only buy gun parts through 4473s. That's
what they would want. I mean, they want you to buy barrels, slides, trigger groups, all of that. They want to control everything.
They want to have like a European model.
That's just real quick. One quick thing before you go. The other thing that they published on their website was the whole gunsmithing manufacturer thing, and they said, get this shit. They said a person that is working, that is installing any drop-in parts, needs to have a gunsmithing / dealer's license. If somebody puts a drop-in trigger in a receiver for somebody, they're saying they need to have a dealer / gunsmithing license.
Yeah, that is correct. That's for, so you like a gunsmith can't just do like a trigger job or install a lower parts kit.
That's ridiculous.
The old rule used to be that you couldn't like buy it from the same place. Like if I was like a gun dealer, I couldn't sell you a strip lower and a lower parts kit. Um, I mean, I could sell it to you, but I couldn't put that in there and then sell it to you pre-installed. I would have to sell you both parts separately, then install it, and then you wouldn't need a license to do that. But now it seems that you do.
Yeah, that's just crazy to me. The fact that they are regulating how people install drop-in parts, like let's say a drop-in trigger to an AR, that's literally bloop, 2 pins. You need to be an FFL and a gunsmith to do that. That's outrageous.
Yeah, it is pretty damn crazy.
Yeah.
Ah, my goodness. I mean, damn Hank Strange.
Is Hank Strange in here?
No,
Oh, I didn't see.
no.
So why are you damning him?
Because every time that I go on vacation, he tells me, he's like, yeah, a long time ago, he once told me, he's like, you're never going to be able to go on vacation because you're always going to end up having to do something during your vacation.
Reporting news. Yep.
And that was like 2 years ago, and I have not been able to go on vacation ever since
It's true.
he said that.
There's always some fuckery with
Yeah,
the
but
ATF
it's
and the
usually
FBI.
big stuff that
But
breaks.
can we just talk about the timing of this?
When
They
Congress is
intentionally
out?
dropped this. Yeah. Congress is out. Everybody's on holiday. Nobody's paying attention to the news. This is like the ultimate fuckery. This is worse than the Friday document drop.
I mean, you're acting like you're surprised that number one, the ATF doesn't give a shit about Congress or legislation in this case. Anyway, number two, they don't care about Christmas. They see it as an opportunity to sneak something in on us.
Yeah. It's like what is the saying? Never let tragedy go to waste. It just seems to me like it's like, all right, hey, we got these holidays coming up. What bombshell can we drop? Oh, it's Friday. Do we have a document we can drop? What are we going to be doing here? And what I said to one of the things, like Dark, we have a lot of private conversations. One of the conversations, like I have a character flaw with reciprocity. And if I had an insurance company, if there was the Terry Rich Schuyler insurance company, and we said something was a payable event or whatever, and we sold policies on that, and then people said, hey man, I slipped and fell, and you told me that's a payable event. And I say, oh, wait a second. We just had a letter from the CEO, and he said it's got to be a Chiquita banana peel, not just a banana peel you slip and fall on. I'd go to jail.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm saying. I'm like, all right. I mean, first off, again, let me make this explicitly clear. This is complete tyranny. This is, thug tyranny. This is, and I completely disagree. But if I played by the same rules they played by, I'd be in jail.
Yeah. And someone asked a question earlier. They were like, are the ATF agents and or lawyers or whomever going to be held accountable for going on the record saying that this frame blank is only a readily convertible unfinished frame or receiver when paired with a jig, instructions, tooling, blah, blah, blah. And that was a great question, but we all know the answer to that. They'll never be held accountable for that.
Well, no, well, hold on. Let me. Sorry, I was doing something else there. Sorry. There's like multiple news stories breaking. What was the question in here?
Well, I think
what was the question here?
The question was, it was actually like a half hour ago. Somebody made a good comment, I should say. It was a question, but they had said, so for the ATF agents and or lawyers that went on record and even on video saying this unfinished, non-functional, unfinished frame and receiver, by their explanation, is only a firearm under the 1968 GCA when paired with jig,
Well,
template, instructions, blah blah blah.
well. Here's
How
the
are they going to
thing.
be held accountable?
They didn't. Uh, there wasn't a video of them holding up a polymer frame. They said a frame.
No, there's a
Um,
video on their website, which has since been removed, by the way.
okay, I thought it meant in court.
No.
Well, I mean, they can put anything on their website that they want. That doesn't. That isn't. I would hate to say that isn't official, but it's non-binding. So I mean,
So,
you can't even there's nothing to hold them accountable for. Like any video that you see on the ATF's website, believe it or not, is by government statute non-binding.
so then let's say that we.
It has to be an official release, like a letter to the public or
Is
anything
YouTube
else
a
like that.
website?
So then let's say that we go to their 24-page clarification that they put out, specifically saying that blank unfinished frames and receivers are not to be considered firearms unless they're paired with jigs, tools, templates, instructions, blah blah blah. I mean, they say it there.
It's still non-binding. They have to do like an official rule change or something like that. They can change their opinion whatever they want.
It's
Look,
just so crazy because it's all part of their
yeah.
final
Well,
rule change.
look here.
There's
For
no way to
example,
explain it. I mean,
for
I
example,
know.
like shouldering of a braced pistol. That went back and forth several times. You could, then you couldn't, then you could again, then you couldn't, then you could.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
So which
That's
one stood?
The one right now is just saying you can. You can absolutely shoulder it.
Yeah.
But they can change it because it's an opinion. That's why they call them opinions.
And their opinion can change, of which they could enforce behind
Yeah,
federal laws.
I know it's not. I know it's not the answer that you want to hear, but it's the truth.
It's just fucked up because they're
Absolutely,
given the ability.
I 100% agree with you. But I mean that's the way it works.
They're given the ability to dramatically impact lives, families, businesses,
Well,
and potentially freedom at
yeah.
the whim of an opinion.
Well, they use Chevron, right? A lot of people think West Virginia versus the EPA killed Chevron, and I saw a bunch of people making videos writing, "Oh, Chevron is dead." And I came on your show, and I was like, "No, it's not. That was a very limited decision by the Supreme Court. It was very narrowly tailored. And if you were to apply it to everything, every organization, and everything else, then yeah, that would have killed Chevron. But it was narrowly tailored. That's why when everyone's happy about West Virginia versus EPA, I was kind of upset, and I told you I was, because they cut out a tailored a tailored decision, and it was not directly enforced. And too many choices. I see him out there, and he was in that chat that night, and he was like, and he actually agreed with me about the West Virginia versus EPA case.
What's
It just
the status of that case currently?
West Virginia won. They beat the EPA, but so basically it was a shot across the bow of Chevron, but it didn't kill Chevron. It had the ability to kill Chevron, but they narrowly tailored it They never mentioned Chevron. They just said, hey, the EPA can't do that. But it never said they can't do that because Chevron is unconstitutional. It didn't actually mention Chevron by name. So other agencies could still jump on and use Chevron, even though that the EPA lost for using Chevron because the Supreme Court never actually addressed it. Chevron.
So explain, because you're referencing Chevron deference. Explain what that is for the people that may not understand.
Okay,
We got like
Chevron says a
120
couple different
people in
things. Chevron says basically there was a case back in the 70s involving Chevron oil, so the oil company, right? What Chevron says, I'm not going to get into the case. It involves smokestacks, how you regulate pollutants, and everything else like that.
Yeah.
Whether it's like the whole factory or each smokestack or whatever, but it doesn't really matter because for our case, what Chevron says is if a regulation or statute is unclear or ambiguous, that the deciding agency, the regulating agency, gets to decide on what the regulation means, and it cannot be challenged, and the meaning cannot be challenged in a court. So people try to go in there and they challenge Chevron saying it's unconstitutional, or they go in there and say, hey, the regulation is not ambiguous, so therefore we can challenge it. So it's like two different parts. Both fall
and how
on
this
the agency side.
Yeah, and how this aligns with something like the ATF coming in and just willy-nilly, going after braces.
Well, they're saying that the NFA isn't clear enough on the SBR. It's ambiguous. It's anecdotal. So they can decide what is a stock and what is not a stock. What a lot of people don't realize, or they realize it, or they just misspeaking it or whatnot, the pistol stabilizing brace rule will not ban pistol stabilizing braces. You can still go out and buy them. You can still own them. What it does, it regulates the firearms that the pistol stabilizing braces are on. It treats them as stocks.
Yeah. Which this is interesting to me because I thought that what they were trying to do, because of course we know that they love registries, they love information, and they love, like, tax stamps, of course, take away your freedom, independence, and privacy, right? And I've got several tax stamps myself. I've made different decisions in the past. I may had made different decisions if I did those at a different time, but whatever. I'm already kind of there. But with the pistol braces, I was thinking, okay, they're going to come in and you know demand that all of us register our braced pistols. I would have thought that they would have tried to find a way to amend the NFA to add braced pistols as opposed to categorizing braced pistols as short-barreled rifles, because
No.
then they could have actually kept a better
the chances of amending the NFA is zero. I mean, I'll say it. The NFA
That's what I
will
was.
not
That's
would
what I was
not
hoping
be
for.
the NFA. They're not going to add anything to the NFA.
I agree. That's
What
what I
they're
was
going to
hoping
do is
for.
through regulations and rules. If they're going to regulate anything in the NFA, I think that there's a greater chance of suppressors and SBRs and SBSs getting removed. There's a greater chance of that happening than them adding a separate category for brace pistols in the NFA. It's just not going to happen.
I was hoping that the NFA would almost be an extra level of protection because they would have wanted to separate braced pistols from SBRs, but it looks like, obviously, from what we've learned, they desperately want to categorize these braced pistols as SBRs so they can then, I mean, they're literally, that is the smoking gun, saying there's absolutely no difference between a brace and a stock. And everybody, I know a lot of people in the gun community are going to jump in and be like, free tax stamp, and they're going to register all of their brace pistols as
What's gonna be bad
FBRs.
is when they change their mind and they come back a year and say, "Oh, there was a
That's
tax forbearance, not a free tax stamp.
and now
Give me
everyone
my
owes
$30,000
Yeah,
for
or
all
more,
the
or
brace
more.
pistols you have, or you can just
Um,
turn it over."
a couple things real quick. Sorry, I'm behind on chat, you guys, but I want to address some of these real quick. Does this apply immediately regarding to the polymer 80 lone wolf?
100%. Yes.
Yeah, based on what the open letter states, it appears that that is effective immediately. Yes,
Now, are they gonna give any leeway? Yeah, they probably will give you leeway for companies.
they really
They
should. I mean, they
they'll
have to.
probably hit them with C&Ds, cease and desist. Um, but I don't think that they're gonna be prosecuting or raiding anybody. They'll probably hit them with a bunch of cease and desist, which are I would imagine are already going out.
Okay, so let's
There's not
say,
that many companies selling blanks, so
how about this? So let's say that there's a company. Let's use DLD Hardware for an example. A lot of you guys know I have a company. It's called DLD Hardware. I sell jigs and gunsmithing and gun building shit, right? And I just got a pallet, a literal effing pallet delivered to me of jigs, right? So, do you see what's going on with frames? Um, do you see potentially jigs becoming an issue? Because jigs could only be used for one thing.
yeah. I mean, I don't see that. If they can get rid of the frames, then the jigs will become useless. So I think they're viewing that as a problem that will solve itself.
Except for those that are going to do a 4473, get an undrilled polymer 80, and then still
Yeah,
buy a jig, because that's
yeah.
them saying like, oh yeah, you say it's just a hobby, huh? You say you're not doing this for your privacy, freedom, and independence. You're just doing it as a hobby, right? Okay. Well, then now you have to do a background check for a pistol blank for your hobby. Of course, all of us that do this
I,
for a hobby and are passionate about it
okay.
love it, but we love the privacy aspect of it too.
I don't. Okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna let you guys in a little secret. I would much rather go out and buy a gun, just a gun, if I could, without a background check. Um, and I have nothing on my background. I have no reason. I mean, I have no reason that I would need to build a polymer 80 or something like that. Besides the obvious reasons that you know any infringement is unconstitutional, whatever. Um, but the reason why I do it mostly is because the ATF doesn't want me to do it. So therefore, I built a lot, and, and every single one, it's F the ATF, F the ATF. That's the reason why I do it.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
I don't do it like, oh, I enjoy building everything myself, blah blah blah. I do. I mean, it's fun, whatever. But that's not the reason why I build P80s. That's not the reason why I print guns. I do it because they don't want me to do it. In anything the government doesn't want you to do, there's probably a reason why you should be doing it.
there must be some fun in there. I mean, for me personally, like, yeah, there is something special about OEM shit, right? There's something that just feels really good about going to the store and buying an OEM Glock. If shit went to, like, if shit hit the fan, SHTF scenario, I'm probably throwing an OEM Glock, or some type of OEM handgun in my kit. But I mean, I got polymer 80s that run just as well as, if not better than, OEM shit, you know? So I mean, I love the active building shit. I love the craftsmanship that it takes. I love the little intricacies and shit that you learn, on every single step, like throughout the process. Like you guys saw, I've been dyeing frames. I've been, literally changing the profile of trigger guards and, doing shit that a lot of people, like most people, just don't do. But like I love doing that. I don't want to have to do, let me say it differently. I don't personally want to have to do a 4473 just to be able to build guns, but I don't believe every single person in the United States should have to undergo a background check to build a gun, which is honestly something that we've been doing in this country since the beginning of firearms, period. It was not only, not looked down on, it was expected for somebody to have the ability or capability or connection to somebody with the capability of building firearms. Where did that go?
I don't know, man.
Bob says, at a snap of a finger, a new rule is signed by the ATF. While Congress is out on holiday, so who's enforcing this and when? I think we kind of answered that. They swear in new January 3rd, right? Will they say "F you" to this?
I'm sure. I have talked to several people in Congress and work with people in Congress, and they are aware of it. So I think you will see something coming out. Now, here's the thing, right? Republicans have control of the House, but they don't really have control of the Senate. So there's not much that they can do. They can do a couple different things. They can send a strongly worded letter, which will probably be ignored, but sometimes those do get traction. So that is not something that I would say is a bad thing or like, oh, this is just them trying to do something. Those letters do hold weight. So it's a little bit more than the strongly worded letter that you are used to because they hold weight and these people don't want to piss off Congress in case they win both houses. But right now, the House is not is Republican controlled and pro gun controlled for the most part, but the Senate isn't. Now, the reason why those letters do have weight is because the people in not so much the dental box, but the other bureaucrats in the ATF are thinking ahead. They're like, I don't want to be fired if they get the presidency, both chambers of Congress, that they can wipe us out. So they want to play ball a little bit, right? Yeah, the House Republicans are rhinos, but I'll get to that. But they're worried about that. The major roadblock is in the Senate where they don't have control. But here's the thing. Do you know how many votes it takes to defund a agency in the Senate? It takes majority in the House, which, you know, we can force that, right? Because we know that it takes a majority in the House. And I'm pretty sure that the House might be up for that with a couple different, like Fitzpatrick in Pennsylvania might not be, but the majority of the House, we might have enough to get a defund bill through the House. When it goes to the Senate, they're not going to defund the ATF. But do you know how many votes it takes to defund an agency in
I
the
mean, it
Senate?
seems like they did a pretty effective job during the
Or
summer of love.
not to fund an agency. But they're already funded for next year, so there's not much we can do. But
And not only that, they openly said over the next about a year ago, I believe, they openly said that we have a plan to literally scale our growth by 100% over the next 5 years. And
yeah,
they've been on that track for a while and increased their budget by like 5x. There is no slowing down the ATF.
yeah.
There is no accountability for them. They're literally able to make these changes with a stroke of a pen, with the submission of a letter, with a mere announcement. They're impacting millions of people and, of course, our natural rights that are given to us by God. And these are the same people that took an oath to protect our rights.
Okay. Well,
Interesting.
no. Here's the thing, and I want to get to Thomas Party of Fours question in a second. So
I can still
just hang
hear you
out there.
too, so go ahead.
41 people decided in the Senate decide that they don't want to fund the ATF will not be funded. 41 people.
Serious? I would have figured it would be a super majority.
No, it's a super majority to fund an agency.
That's crazy.
It's 41 to not fund an agency. You need a super majority to fund an agency. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the omnibus bill passed with just over 60 votes. So if you have 41 people willing to stand up for liberty, that bill, I mean, they can't pass a funding bill for the ATF.
Thomas, that was the same thing we were discussing. I'm unclear on that.
No. The preliminary injunction, this would not apply to them.
Okay, so for the companies out of Texas and Delaware that currently have temporary injunctions to continue selling frames, jigs, tooling, instructions, and all that shit together, this open letter that was issued today would not apply to them.
No, it would not apply to them.
Only until their temporary injunction were to end or expire or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Yeah. I see somebody, Kimball was asking about indie guns. I do know that they are talking to some people. If it's the one out of if it's what I'm thinking it is, I don't want to say too much. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I mean, I probably shouldn't say anything at all. Yeah, I don't know, Kimball. All I know is that I've seen some really, really suspect things from certain people in the community. Sorry, I'm going to shut my mouth now.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
do we push hard on our senators in Congress? You know my thoughts and feelings on that. John or Rich can answer that. Rich, we haven't heard from you, Rich. Speak. What
Well,
say
you guys
you?
been talking a whole lot. You've been conveying good information. I figured I'd just be here and be quiet.
Well, then I'll just take this opportunity to talk about AR takedown tool. One of the smartest.
dude, that
This
thing is
actually,
badass. I love it.
This is actually two
I mean,
punches and a hammer, all in one. This
yeah, we met those
for
guys. We met those guys at the gun the Guns Out range day, and
yep at
they're
XCal.
really cool guys.
Well,
And
wait till
that
you see
tool
what
is
they're
actually really
dropping.
bad. And I'm not sponsored by them or have any type of financial connections, no affiliate codes or anything. But I will say that damn tool is a game changer.
Yeah, this tool is dope. I've actually literally used it to knock off sights from a Glock and then to reinstall sights on a Glock. It's pretty dope. I don't have any financial relationship with them at all. However, I was like, yo, send me some ammo. I don't want any money from you. I don't want anything at all. Just send me ammo so we can make content together. They're like, okay, cool. So they're a dope company and they're based. So I was kind of joking when I held this up, but you're right. AR takedown tool is it's a baller ass tool.
I was with you on a live stream.
Hey, Rich,
and you built that, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I just want to answer Kimball's thing. The reason why I said I want to keep quiet about what I know is because I know several different things about a couple different companies in that lawsuit, and I know like a lot of other companies already gave up names like Rainier Arms and stuff like that. Indie Guns, there's a couple different ones that are like polar opposites of what they're doing, and I can't. I'm having a brain fart right now, and I can't tell which company is which. So that's why. And I don't want to like throw them under the bus if they're not one of the ones that need to be thrown under the bus, and I'm not gonna vindicate them if they're not one of the ones that are going to be vindicated. Indie Gun, New York sued a bunch of ghost gun companies or whatever, and they gave up a bunch of names. Not Indie Guns. I don't know if they did or not. A bunch of the companies did. Rainier Arms, for example, and stuff like that. And now there's the Buffalo lawsuit where they're suing freaking everyone, which is insane.
Stormson says, all I can leave you with is this. If it's time to hide your guns, then it's way past the time they were used. That was the intention of the Second Amendment. Good night, all. There are a lot of people that share that that belief.
Yeah.
There. One quick note too. There are a lot of people that share this outlook too. A lot of people are like, bump stocks. I don't care about bump stocks. I don't have bump stocks. I have no reason. I have no dog in the fight. I don't care about anything at all. Blah blah blah. And let's be honest. A lot of y'all, a lot of us, were there during that time. And I would say that we are where we are today because of that exact situation.
Yeah. The thing is, I hear a lot of people talk about, it's time to take up arms, whatnot, but are they really going to do it? I'm not saying that you're not. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that talk a big game, then when it's time to do stuff, they
Yeah, don't let Ray Epps sell you down the road, sell you down the river.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, I don't have pistol braces, so I don't care. I don't have,
that's what they
polymer
said
80
about bump
frames.
stocks.
That's what I'm
right?
saying. They're going
Pistol
to be like,
braces and polymer 80 frame. Well,
that's what I'm saying.
I
They're
mean, if
going to
we
be like,
stopped,
it doesn't directly affect me, so I don't care. But this is exactly what we're saying. Most people will stay silent. Most people will say, well, it doesn't affect me. If it takes one thing, even though now they're sitting here saying that the ingredient is the finished product, right? They're saying this is like the FDA saying, well, sugar and flour, we're going to start regulating that. And
But,
even though, like, basically
Dark,
the
you said
sugar
this
and the
earlier
flour
in
is
the
the
stream.
key.
So the thing that I want to get to is it's it's an organization called the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Now, they regulate alcohol and tobacco. If they apply the same rules to regulating alcohol and tobacco as they do frames,
should they?
then you're
Shouldn't they be waiting wheat farms?
Yeah,
right.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah,
They should be kicking in the door with SWAT teams of farmers that grow wheat and tobacco.
catching
I mean, gosh,
people.
if you got water and soil, you're just one step away from tobacco.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
readily convertible, right?
Yeah, people with
Right.
germinated seeds. If
Oh, forget that. Not them germinated seeds.
Yeah, if some poor farmer, some poor bastard has a bunch of germinated seeds, they're going to be like, you're under arrest for possession of unfinished whiskey and beer. Like, what? It's barley and wheat. Yep. Well, those are precursors to, so therefore you're arrested, because in the world of the ATF, the ingredients are the finished product. Because there's absolutely no way that frame blanks can be considered a receiver under the GCA, which is exactly what they said. The only reason they could regulate it is if it was under the Gun Control Act of 1968. They said it themselves. It is an unfinished, non-functional piece. Good God.
What they're hanging their hat on is the readily convertible part. I don't agree with them, but that's what they're Okay, guys. When I say ghost guns, I am poking fun at them for using scary terms. That's why I usually throw up the ghost guns thing, but sometimes I might forget. Another thing is I don't agree with any of the ATF's thinking, but I do know what the thinking is. So when I say, hey, this is what the ATF is thinking, I am not saying that's what I'm thinking. Chances are I 100% disagree with that. I think that if Rich wanted to go buy a fully armed F-22 Raptor and he had the money and means to do that, he should be able to go buy that.
Yep.
But I
If
mean,
somebody wanted to build, oh, sorry, go ahead, Rich.
Well, I mean, we all know you could never buy a cannon. I mean, there's limits to the Second Amendment. Cannons were never legal in,
Yeah,
could
they've
you
never
imagine
always been
actually
legal.
arming a ship with cannons and sailing that around? I mean,
Yeah,
that would be absurd.
and then calling it a privateer and then contracting to the United States government to save their asses.
dude, Lafayette was a badass privateer. He was a very, very pro-American guy, pirate. I'm going to call him a pirate because it's basically what he was. He was a pirate that didn't attack American ships because he believes in the calls of liberty. But if you didn't have that American flag, he was going to freaking gank the shit out of you.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I have a bunch of matches, camper fuel, and ephedrine tabs. Does that mean I'm making meth? Hey, that's constructive intent. You're under arrest.
It depends how many actually, it depends on how many ephedrine tabs you have.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
No, it's like there is a limit to the amount that you can have.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's when we talk about the regulations, that's the dumbest thing. It's like, I'm buying cough medicine or whatever. It's like, can I see your driver's license? I'm like, and that's going to stop who, how?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But these are the same people that think that, okay, criminals, steal guns, deface their serial numbers, and then murder people. So let's make a law saying that you can't steal. No, let's make a law saying you can't deface. Oh, no, let's make a law saying you can't kill. How's like? Do they not understand? Do they not get it? Grape farmers beware, wheat farmers beware. I know, right?
Right.
Yeah, the ingredients are now the finished product. It's so ridiculous. Look, that's why I had to bring this up and have a conversation about it because I was fuming mad. I was pissed. The balls that they have to drop some shit like this while Congress is out on holiday with no active Congress, and I know I've said it probably effing 10 times now. With
after
no
a federal
Congress.
holiday, because yesterday was a federal holiday.
Yeah, after Christmas and then after the federal holiday of which they observed Christmas on, with no active Congress, with no legislation, without putting it up on the federal registry, without asking for the general public's comment, nothing at all. They drop an open letter to now make all 80% unfinished polymer frames like P80, Lone Wolf, and similar. That's what they said. And I'm sorry, they said unfinished firearms receivers that are non-functional. Like what is this? This is insane. So that's why I'm a little frustrated about this, guys. Can you understand the frustration?
Oh, hell yeah.
Somebody earlier said, so if the ballot box is no longer an option, and the what was it, ballot box and
you talk about marks.
Box. I didn't see.
That's
yeah. He says what the ballot box,
our political power becomes at the barrel of a gun. You have the ballot box, and the
jury box
and the bullet
ammo
box.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep. I mean, look, I would never make any call to action like that at all. I actually say that we should not, take any action like that, because that literally would play to their hand and their narrative for them to say, well, look what they did. They only did this because they had access to all these blah, 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 right? Really, what we should do is take a massive stand and publicly, peacefully take a stand for our rights and have a massive scale of public, peaceful noncompliance. I mean, these are our rights given to us by God. They're supposed to be guaranteed to us by the same people that are reaching in and taking them. These are the same people that have also destroyed our economy. This is the same people that, look at the last 3 years, man. We cannot continue on this track.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Frederick Douglass. Okay, sorry.
Frederick Douglass. Mark said something. Marx is the one that's. Did Marx say all power comes at the barrel of a gun?
I think he said all power, all governmental, all political power
Political
comes
power
at the end
comes
of
at
a
the
gun or
barrel
something like
end
that.
of a gun. Something like that.
Barrel of a gun. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm wondering how much further things like this can. Minority Report equals reality. Yeah, for real. Mal. Okay, he's saying it was Mal. I don't know. I'm not. We're not looking up the quotes
Mal.
right
That's
now.
what it was.
I think it may have been
One of
Mal.
those
I don't remember
Marxist
if it
guys.
was
One of those commies.
Marx, Mal. Yeah, so somebody that was against your freedom, liberty, and independence and privacy. Malcolm X, the ballot box or bullet box. Okay, I don't know. All y'all are just making shit up now. Next, you're gonna say Mike Tyson said that shit.
I heard
Everyone
Mike Tyson was
agrees.
quite a scholar this morning.
Oh, Mike Tyson did say something very, very smart. He says everyone has a plan until they get hit.
And hit
Yeah.
by Mike Tyson, that is.
Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Punched in the face or something like that. Yeah.
Well, that is the way these rules will be enforced at the point of a lot of government guns. Facts.
That's why they're offering $50,000 for any ATF agent who dies in the line of duty, enforcing
Dude,
these
I'm not.
unconstitutional laws.
Yeah,
First
so hold on,
off,
bring that up real quick.
In the omnibus bill, they put a provision in there that if you die enforcing gun laws, ATF enforcing gun laws, that they will pay your family $50,000.
$50,000 that
very
plants you.
interesting.
That doesn't take care of your family
I know.
for
No,
30,
but
40, 50 years.
No, but I mean, you put 10 grand into putting you in the ground. That's like the bare minimum to bury somebody, and then you got another 40 grand sitting around. They probably got other life insurance packages and shit like that. I'm not saying. I'm just saying it's very interesting that they would put language like that in the omnibus bill, which just passed, at the same time, just about or less than a year ago.
They're coming
They
out
said,
with this horse hockey.
yeah, they're coming out with all this. They're coming out with the shit for, unfinished frames and receivers that are non-functional. They're coming out with the pistol brace shit. They're coming out all this stuff that they're doing. They changed in some states, like Virginia. They now this was a state law, right? But I'm just saying that it's further encroachments and infringements. Private transactions are no longer lawful in places like Virginia, and some other states have followed suit.
Maybe
But
not.
then
Hold on. That might be. Yeah. Go contact Jason Miares and tell him to back down. We have the ability in Virginia to get rid of universal background checks because there's a GOA lawsuit, and all the state has to do is to say, hey, okay, well, we're not going to defend it anymore. And Jason Miares is supposed to be this pro Second Amendment guy. So I think we can push him in Virginia to say, okay, well, we're not going to fight it. We're going to give in. I mean, they've already gave us 18 to 20-year-olds. If you don't know, in Virginia, we have universal background checks. Unless you're 18 to 20, then you don't have to go through a background check. You can buy a
Yeah.
gun privately still.
That's funny. But what I'm saying is that all this shit is happening within a year of the timing that the ATF said we are going to double in size, we're going to 5x our budget, we're going to bonus our, families of, agents that died in the line of enforcing gun control or whatever like that. This is all seeming to be really well planned that, why would they need to double in size with armed agents? Well, they may plan on doing something in the future. And I've always heard, and I've always been told, and God bless the older men in my family, the government would only ever want to take your guns if they're going to do something that you would shoot them for. And then, of course, right on the heels of all this shit is the new CBDC coin, the central banking coin that is literally being test drove, is going through testing right now in New York. The New York Fed is running a test on it, and it's doing, I think there are two tests. There's like a 12-week test and a 6-month test. So once they literally remove the capability of us to have privacy in transactions, it's done. And then you have ESG and what is it? CSR, corporate social responsibility, and environmental social responsibility.
Sounds like a social credit score.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. What do we think gun companies, gun parts companies, jig companies, DLD hardware? Well, what do we think? You think those kinds of companies are going to have good credit scores and be able to exchange money at any chance they choose to? No, they're going to
You're
be
going to be
restricted.
deplatformed, debanked, all of that, because they're the first push at this was through the credit card system and designating that firearms. Actually, Crumpy, you were very instrumental in this. That firearms had a different code, and John's part was the shipping of firearms. With,
I figured all that out.
Sounds like a war is being waged on the American people. I was just reading the comment.
100%. I agree with that.
And ammo taxes, ammo cards to buy ammo.
There is a tax on guns right now.
Yeah,
there's an extra tax on ammo and guns that a lot of people don't know about, that you pay every single time you buy a gun. You pay a tax, or you buy ammo, you pay a extra tax. It's called Pittman-Ross. Pittman-Ross was a bill that added it on there. Now the money gets used for like national forest and hunting areas and stuff like that. But it's still a tax on ammo and guns. I mean, I disagree with it. Speaking on for my own self, I 100% disagree with it.
Yeah. You always have to run the track before you run the train through. Facts. The company I work for is all about the ESG BS. That sucks. Shit's gotten real now that FBI and AFT are under Paw Dumbass's thumb. Yeah, there's been a lot of negative things that have impacted our country over the last 2 to 3 years specifically. Hold on, I saw another one. Yeah, that shit with the credit card numbers is nuts. There's literally 3 codes now: non-firearms, firearms, and sporting goods. So what does ammunition fall under?
I think it falls under the firearms code, even though it's not firearms. If I could be wrong.
That sounds very ATF-ish. Too many choices said when someone said it sounds like a war is being waged upon the American people, and he said, and we're losing.
I think we're overall. I think we're winning.
Well, now here's an interesting fork. More states than ever have constitutional carry.
25, and it looks like it might be 20. I think Rich's state might be one of the next ones to go.
God bless us.
It's looking that way, at least, and that would make the majority of the states have constitutional carry. Every state is shall issue now. If you look since the 90s, when like hardly any states were shall issue, and now 26 are constitutional carry. We're actually winning, but the anti-gunners don't want you to know that. They want you to get disheartened. They want you to think that nothing.
So
That
following
they
one
want.
of the sayings that I always appreciate is you get the most flack when you're over the target. Because it just seems like every time we turn around, there's another stick in the spokes. And is it because we're winning? We're like the common sense gun regulation or gun rules is keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. And I'm just shocked at this shit. I'm just really, I think people are seeing the light when they're burning the cities down. Even liberals went to buy guns.
Here's this. The Brady United, Brady organization, whatever they call themselves, they were originally was like Brady against handguns, and like we were very close to actually them being able to ban handguns. And now, if you talk about handguns, they're like, oh, nobody wants to ban handguns. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They
They've
just
been
don't want
trying
to
to
know
ban.
that, but we just pushed them so far over that they know that they're going to sound like crazy people now if they say that.
Yeah, they've literally been trying to ban handguns for nearly 100 years. And the NFA originally had handguns as a category, but they said that would be encroaching on our rights in the Second Amendment. They've wanted to do that for 100 years, but and actually, though I don't agree with it, going off of their logic of mass shootings, over 86% of mass shootings were done with handguns. But of course, they're not using logic to make these decisions. I don't agree with any of that. I don't think there should be one restriction, regulation, or rule regarding what people choose for self-preservation. I think that's bullshit. But with all of this, like you're saying, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Their rules are different. Their rules are shoot at everything always, and just see what targets you hit in the end. I get what you're saying. There are some wins, and we should celebrate the wins that we've had, but we're still
We're still fighting, but
gravely under attack.
We are still under attack. You can play defense and offense at the same time, right? And we have to do that. We have to play defense and offense. Where we will lose some battles, we will win some battles, but we have to keep fighting.
I agree.
And I think a lot of people get disheartened. And I was at a conference a few weeks ago, a secret conference, and they're like, what's the biggest threat to the Second Amendment? And people were like saying Congress, people were saying Biden, people were saying the ATF. And what my answer was apathy within the firearms community.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I said to Dark today is, hey, this frame and receiver rule change really isn't going to affect me. I can print whatever I want, and I've got boxes of polymer 80s. I pretty much don't need anymore. Now, it's not that this is what we call on Long Island, or now that I'm no longer a Long Island resident, the gangplank mentality that you move further east out on the island and you think they should pull up the gangplank and not let anybody else move in. It's like, I got mine, I don't care about you. That's not the point. And the point is rights are for everyone. And I mean, the old cliche is, they came for this group of people. The Nazis came for this group. I said nothing. They came from that group. I said nothing. Then finally they came for me. And that's where I see this all going, is we all need to get fed the fuck up and voicing our opinions peacefully, respectfully, uh, voicing our opinions, whether it's civil disobedience or, non-violent, civil, whatever, fill in the blank. But we need to make this heard that, hey, we're not going to be ruled like this. The shit that the government is doing to us with this $1.7 trillion budget that's 4,000 pages long that they had several hours to read before it got voted and passed. And this is any one of us. In John's work, my work, Dark's work, our day job. Any one of us, if we had an annual budget or an annual project or whatever it is and didn't get it done, we'd be fired. But there hasn't been a budget. Well, all right, maybe not Crump's job. But Crump would probably get a bonus.
Ridiculous. Yeah, probably. I just don't think they know what's going on. And
but all right, let's exclude Crump. But
no, I do a good job. I do a good job. But some people don't do anything and get like raises. They're just like, what the hell? The dude didn't do anything. They're like, well, they're not really sure what he does.
Certainly, Dark and I, and a lot of the people in the audience here, that if we don't do our job, now there's a law that says there will be a budget, and I don't believe there was a budget since Bush Jr. And that's what. We're talking 16. We're probably talking 20 years since there's been a freaking budget in the United States, and they always do these what they call CRs, continuing resolutions, which is like, we have a budget limit, we have a spending limit, but we'll just increase the ceiling on the spending and screw the budget. We'll just do a continuing resolution, and that's what they've been doing. So. Nobody in what they say in Washington is if there's no penalty for the law, like there's a law that says there has to be a budget, but there's no penalty. It doesn't say anybody's going to jail, but they're like, oh, well, it's merely a recommendation. Which you let me know. Look, I like to speed. I like to drive fast. The faster I can go, the happier I am. And that's another defect that I have. Does anybody say, oh, hey, yeah, no problem. Oh, you're rich. Yeah, good. Have a good day. No, I got to abide by the law. And it's again, my reciprocity issue that if we have to abide by the law.
But what if you wrote a letter and that letter said, my opinion
get out of jail
is
free.
My opinion is that 55 miles an hour.
Compared to the speed of light.
Yeah, like 120 isn't fast. So I'm going to write a letter today that says my opinion is that all vehicles can go 120 miles an hour. That's the shit. Like it's ridiculous. You can't do that by the stroke of a pen with no legislation, no act of Congress. But they're getting away with it, and they're literally leveraging the full extent of the law against it. That's what's so crazy. A few people bring it up. They said they wanted this addressed. The SIG grip module does not have serial number, though, so it can't be a gun. Crump, can you address this? So the difference is, and I'll let Crump address it too. The difference is that
the fire control group is serialized.
Yeah, the any P80 Glock frame or whatever. Let's say an unfinished frame, for an example. When you drill it, put the holes through it, you cut the tabs off, and you remove the channel and all that shit, and you finish it. That frame itself houses the trigger components, all that stuff that make the gun go bang. The SIG itself,
the serialized
portion,
it's a self-contained fire control unit,
which already in theory would be serialized or pre-made. So then, okay, my MUP fell on the ground, but a MUP 1 receiver, a SIG 320 blank, does that fall into the, I mean, like what, there's so many unanswered questions here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, because the fire control unit is self-contained, like on a Glock, right? You take out the fire control unit. It's not serialized.
But all right, so let's just talk about the MUP 1, not the JIG, but the MUP 1. The MUP 1, is that a firearm?
According to the ATF, yes. in this.
Now, unfinished, without the tabs bent or trimmed.
Oh, unfinished. I see what you're saying. I'm not sure about that. I mean, it would be kind of risky because it's not polymer. It's not made. It's made out of metal.
All right. So what it seems to me is they're against anybody building a P80 or P80
Okay,
look-alike.
Can I finish my thing?
Sure.
It's very, very. It's a very gray area with the MUP one. You can say that JSD could technically maybe still sell the MUP one without a jig. But here's the thing. I mean, those jigs are freaking expensive to make for one thing, so no one's going to make them. And JSD wouldn't be able to make them. And another thing is JSD is under the microscope already. They're already being sued by Buffalo.
Yeah.
And Josh Shapiro.
Yeah, they don't want to take on any more of this.
No, well, Josh Shapiro is looking hard at them. The Biden administration, the ATF, I mean, are all... They're very under the microscope. Other than Polymer 80, they are probably more under the microscope than any other company out there. So I wouldn't do it if I was JSD.
Right. And I'm not trying to, advise anybody do that, but I'm saying, so if it's plastic and it's easy to do in under an hour, that's bad. If it's metal, like the MUP one, and it might take you several hours and you might have to have real tools to do it, that's okay. And likewise with something like a 1911.
Yeah.
Or AR-15.
Or... Yeah, but even that's bullshit. That's them saying...
Flats and AR-15, like 80%ers, that's specifically in the rule as being allowed. So there's nothing they can really do to touch that. I mean that's so black and white.
But when they do linguistic gymnastics,
I don't know how they would
no
do
longer
it.
Flat.
They have a picture of of a
flat. But here's the confusing thing is that they gave the illusion that blank unfinished frames or receivers were okay without jigs and blah blah blah.
But what I'm saying is rule change. That's not in black and white in the rule. There's
but the rule doesn't say AR-15.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't say AR-15. Where you're referencing
it has a picture of an AR-15 lower.
Yeah, but that's subjective.
But no, that's in the rule though. So that's not subjective.
It also has a picture of a Polymer 80 without the jig in the picture, even though the jig is kind of in the top of the picture, saying that that's not a firearm. So they're just going back and forth, and they're not being clear. And I think they're doing that on purpose.
Hold on, let me pull up the final rule.
But here's my issue.
That is called the final rule.
The final rule that was altered or added to twice. The thing is that even though, like Rich is saying, even if they did say by name AR-15 frames and receivers are okay, or Polymer 80 frames and receivers are okay, as long as they're not with jigs or whatever. That was in the 24-page clarification where they said more specifically that unfinished frames and receivers were okay as long as they were not.
Okay, no, hold on. I have the rule, and it is in there. It says a billet or blank of an AR-15 variant receiver without critical interior areas having been indexed, machined, or formed that is not sold, distributed, or possessed with instructions, jigs, templates, equipment, or tools such that it may be readily completed is not a receiver. And then it has a picture of it.
Correct. But go back to the beginning of that. What does it say? Example.
It's example too, but also if you look down,
and then they have the picture. But the way I understood that was just
No,
an example.
it does say it. No, but it also says with these changes, it is important to understand those things that are unchanged by the rule, and it has specifically that part of firearm that's classified in frame, blah, 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 blah. Then it says pursuant to 27 FCR 47 8.12 A2, the receiver of an AR-15 M16 variant firearm would be the upper assembly, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it says unchanged by the rule.
But
So
other than that example,
I don't see how they can get around that.
but you see what I'm saying is that they said an example, right? So
Yeah, I
it
do see with an example, but I don't see they name it specifically in the example.
in the
All right,
example
guys, I'm
of
gonna drop. It's past my bedtime.
all right, brother.
Yeah.
And this is kind of, what the argument has been the whole time. It's like they're talking about, unfinished frames and receivers, um, as a whole above that, and then below that they say, here's an example. Now in that example, it happens to be an AR-15, so that could be misleading. But then in the clarification, they talk generally about the 24-page clarification letter. They talk generally about all unfinished frames and receivers being okay, provided that they're not with jigs. So that,
I looked up the picture that you're talking about with the jig at the very top of it.
yeah,
I think that you might be a little mistaken because that picture is under the rule clarifies that the definition of a firearm includes a weapons part kit designed to be readily completed, assembled, restored, or otherwise converted to expel a projectile by an action of an explosive. Then it has the picture of the
buy build
frame.
shoot kit
No, it has a picture of the frame.
of just the frame,
Yeah,
or
yeah, of the frame. So
because there was a picture too of like a whole buy build shoot kit.
yeah, I saw that. It's underneath that. It's a few pages down.
Okay, so hold on. So you're saying that it says that just a
No,
polymer frame by itself.
it doesn't say that, but I'm talking about the picture. Yeah,
Okay,
it's one of those. It's one of those things where it's just showing different things. It's not really stating what the picture is or what the picture is supposed to mean.
yeah, and
Where
it's
the one of the AR-15 is specifically called out.
yeah. I just think that all of this is subjective and confusing, almost purposefully. And the way I see it is they're going to be able to jump back in and change rules, definitions, and opinions at any time. They've proven that. Since August 24th, this is now the second edit and or addition, whatever you want to call it, amendment, whatever, to this final rule change, which they said they can never change, that no one can ever change. Even a Supreme Court ruling in case law could never change it.
Well, the Supreme Court case law can change it.
But it's
Or
just funny that they tried to say that it
yeah,
can't.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
It can't do that.
the Supreme Court is a very, very powerful. It's probably the most powerful chamber, like the branches of the government, the three branches of government. It's probably the most powerful branches of the government.
Yeah. How the hell do I identify as a non-taxpayer? Well, it's funny because there's actually no law that states you have to file taxes. And there have been a lot of experts that have done years of research. And everyone is like, well, yeah, but you have to. People are like, yeah, I understand that. Where does it say Like, what law says that I
Yeah,
am legally bound to pay
I
taxes?
understand what you're saying, and there isn't one, but the courts have upheld that you have to pay taxes. There's been a lot of people that challenged it, and until the Supreme Court challenges it, the Supreme Court actually ruled on this several times.
Yeah, I'm not telling anyone
So,
not to pay taxes.
no, I just want people to know that. I mean, this has been so by case law, yeah, but that goes to show you how powerful the judicial system is. You know, there's no law that says that you have to pay taxes, but the judicial system decided that you had to pay taxes, agreed with Congress, and now you have to pay taxes.
So, is there a way that I could inject my opinion about something that would result in the fullest extent of the law being projected on somebody for their decisions, actions, or inactions?
Yeah, you sound like the ATF there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's totally nonsensical that they can do this. Um, right. So we have no rights. I've been saying it for years now. Yeah, I totally agree. I This is ridiculous. The fact that they can use already established law and completely circumvent legislation in Congress to do this is absolutely bananas. It's crazy. It's nuts. It's literal tyranny. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I wanted to do the stream to bring up the open letter that was dropped today by the ATF. I just wanted to discuss it and talk about it. Part of me was conflicted about it. I didn't even really want to put it out there, but it had already been dropped by so many people that I was like, whatever. I was stewing over it for hours, so I was like, okay, I'm going to bring it up, talk about it, do a stream, because I was I didn't want to do it because I don't want to do the ATF's job for them. I don't want to be out there being their mouthpiece, telling everybody about it when the onus is on them, the ATF. The onus is on the federal government to inform every single person in the United States that this is now law, even though it's not a law, even though there was no legislation or act of Congress or anything at all. But you know, I had to address it. Plus, I had to talk about it. Otherwise, I was going to go crazy, pacing around in circles in my house, trying to, you know, talk myself out of doing a backflip out of the window. Let me see. They can milk this. You know, Supreme Court doesn't seem too powerful lately with states ignoring rulings. That's true.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Let's jump into this really quick. I know you said you wanted to kill it, but let's jump into this really quick. Judge Sotomayor is the associate Supreme Court justice that oversees the Second Circuit. Sorry, the Second Circuit issued a stay against the preliminary injunction won by GOA in Antioch versus Hochul, which challenged the CCIA, which knocked down the CCIA, right? So GOA asked SCOTUS to step in, filed an emergency petition with the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to step in. Now, they could do a couple of different things. They could say, "Oh, we're not going to roll on it." They can say, well, "We're going to take it," and you have several months to give us a statement of why that this day is legit. Or they can say what Sotomayor said is, "Hey, you have until you have 1 week from today to give us a response to state why this doesn't violate Bruin," which is something good because it was done. It was like only a week, which is even a lot of time to respond to that. Also, it's not ignoring it. And people say Sotomayor, right? She's a Democrat. she ruled against, she was in the dissenting opinion of Bruin. But here's the thing: justices are very, very cognizant of setting case law, right, and precedent. And what would happen is, if she decided not to hear this because it's definitely a violation of Bruin and it's an obvious violation of Bruin, then in the future, like the circuits that Thomas oversees, or Amy Coney Barrett, or Gorsuch, or whoever, Kavanaugh, right? They would do the same thing. So they don't want to set precedent. So she said, all right, you have a week to tell us how this doesn't violate Bruin, because I think she believes that it does violate Bruin. Now she has a couple different things that she can do. She can read their decision, and she can just say, stays unconstitutional, lift the stay, whatever, the CCIA is unconstitutional and lift the stay, which is a possibility. Or she could say, well, I'm going to recommend this to the full bench and let the bench decide. And that would give her an out where she can still vote, against it, and it would get lifted anyway. So I think the Supreme Court is about to slap down New York. Also, states and circuit courts and whatever states, specifically, that go against Supreme Court edicts, whatever you want to call it, rulings, whatever. She is probably looking at that and thinking, well, let's say we get Roe v. Wade and we get that back for somehow, or the whole entire, whatever, whatever they want to protect, some liberal ruling. She is worried that then states will see, okay, well, they were allowed to ignore Bruin and the Supreme Court didn't do anything, so we're going to ignore this other Supreme Court law. Not law, but Supreme Court ruling. And she doesn't want to cause that to happen. So I think that's the reason why she granted like the emergency petition.
Because if she doesn't, act on the side of case law,
it's a green light to states.
Yeah, exactly.
to disobey case law that she has, that she believes in. So
yeah,
and so it's very. I know she was probably holding her nose. And this is so egregious. The CCIA is such egregious that I don't think that she that she wants to wait on it. It was a direct challenge to the Supreme Court ruling, and she can't have that. I mean, none of the justices. I don't think any of the justices. I think even if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was on there, or any of the like Kennedy, or any of the other, I don't know.
Yeah, they can't go against Supreme Court case law. I mean, they could, but
it would be detrimental. It would be cutting their own. It would be cutting off their head to save their nose, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I got you. I see what you're going for. They're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah, so she's going to have to do it. And it's going to be fast. It is going to be fast. Like, giving him a week. You have a week from today to decide, to tell us, explain to us how this law does not violate Bruin, which it definitely does.
CCIA is the Concealed Carry Infringement Act, right?
Yes, what they might call improvement, but I call it cutting off the nose to spite their face. Correct.
Yeah,
that's what it is. I was getting my terms mixed up.
But I knew what you were going for.
Yeah, but thank you. Too many choices, but it's the hands are tied, and I think we are going to win that. Now, if this is going to have rippling effects, in New Jersey, for example, they passed a very similar law that FPC and NRA has sued. I see if the Supreme Court sides with a GOA, they're probably going to change the law.
Yeah. I mean, with this, with what we're experiencing now, with let's just call it unfinished frames and receivers. I mean, even if our side is the side that wins, let's just say it like that, right? I don't want this to take years, all the time, energy, money, and people losing businesses and everything that we'll have to sacrifice just to get to a point of saying, okay, we were right, we were on the righteous path, we're defending the natural rights of the general public, and that's what else do we have to sacrifice to take a stand for our natural rights? That's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to throw that out there that I think we are going to win on this, and this is going to be a shot across the bow of any states that because they want this to be put to bed. The Supreme Court does, and if you look, and there was a case in D.C. And it was a friend of mine that actually brought it, but it had to do with concealed carry in DC, where DC became shall issue, right?
Mhm.
Circuit Court ruled that DC would be shall issue. The DC did not appeal to the Supreme Court because they knew they would probably lose. So DC started playing these games where they kept on passing these laws, and the circuit court would be like, "Oh, you can't do that," and then they would change it. Then they would get sued again, and this happened over and over again, where they just change it by a little bit and change terms around. And then you probably remember this guy. I got a picture somewhere of me carrying the gun in DC on the National Mall.
I don't remember.
Yeah, well, it was a few years ago. Probably like mid teens, mid teens, where the Supreme Court stepped in and said, DC, you're playing with concealed carry permits. So as of right now, until you get a law that falls within the ruling of the court, there's no gun laws. There's no carry laws.
Damn.
So DC became constitutional carry and open carry.
Damn.
And very
in a place that used to ban handguns completely. Handguns were completely illegal in DC prior to Heller.
Yeah, hold on, let me see if I can find some. I know I don't have mine.
When was Heller, by the way?
Heller was 2008. The Heller one was 2008. Then there was 2010 was the last Heller. Well, not the last Heller. There was another Heller. Heller 4 happened recently. But the big Heller case was 2008, and it went back in 2000.
And you said you're going to help me get Dick Heller on the show, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. He watches our show. I mean,
yeah, I heard.
Yeah, Rich was surprised when he was like, "Oh yeah, we know you. We love your stuff." And they watched Rich's channel, and Rich was like he was like, I don't know, how would you describe Rich when he found out that they watched his channel and they were fans of him?
He felt important. We'll say that.
Yeah, he was happy.
Hold on. Guilty After Dark, but is it Draco? really a handgun. I mean, here's the funny thing. So we're talking about the ATF constantly changing their mind, constantly changing their opinions, and then of course all of that impacts like us as individuals because they will prosecute us to the fullest extent of the law, right? So based on the ATF's current, I guess, current opinion, yes, it is a handgun because it doesn't have, it has a barrel that is less than 16 and a half, whatever inches. It's technically 16, but companies do 16 and a half to, give no chances. A barrel less than 16 inches and one pistol grip, and your second hand that's on the fore end or hand guard there is a horizontal grip. So therefore it's not an AOW because it doesn't have a second vertical grip. So it's a handgun. Doesn't matter what the cartridge is. But yeah, I mean, I got a Draco too with a brace on it, by the way. Just saying. Yeah, even AR pistols. So that's the thing, guys. We're talking about several things tonight, but the brace thing, you guys will see between tomorrow and New Year's Eve, it's highly likely, nearly 100%, that the new brace rule will be implemented, that it will be, employed. I don't know. I kept saying dropped, but people took that the wrong way. Not dropped as in swept away. Like they will introduce it between tomorrow and New Year's Eve. And you have three options. Option one is based on the ATF, right? You do whatever the hell you want to do. But based on what the ATF said, you have three options. Option one is to remove all the braces and then destroy all the braces, and your pistols would still be lawful pistols. Option two is to put 16-inch barrels on them, and then they'd be totally lawful. Or option three is to register them as short-barreled rifles. Or option four, just say fuck it and thug it out. But that's, up to every individual's, decision, their discretion. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. Even the micro Draco, you're still tossing some same grain as a 9, but about 500 feet per second faster. Yeah,
So,
they're badass pistols.
do you want to tell everyone what we're pitting in our MP5s?
Oh, we are going to be dropping. So if you guys haven't been following, me, Crump, and Flying Rich all recently got
Well, Rich
MP5
isn't because he can't.
pistols. Oh yeah, his FFL is closed for a week. Well, yeah, he's not.
No,
getting
he can't. He's in Florida.
Yeah, no, I was just telling him that we all got the same pistol. We all got MP5K pistols. These are the Century Arms AP5. But just so you all know,
made by MKE.
Yeah, these are MKE guns that are built on HK tooling that just happen to be imported by Century. So some people out there, including Detective John Kimball, said, oh, Century built guns are shit, which is not always true. But these weren't even built by Century. They were just imported by them. And they're basically, in my opinion, like one of the top few HK builds outside of HK. They're MKE guns that are built on HK tooling. But anyway, so we all got the MP5K variant for a crazy deal. And Crump and I were able to get a little bit of a hookup on the binary trigger. So we're going to be dropping binary triggers in
which
our MP5
which it was which the hookup is non-existent anymore.
What do you mean?
It was like a one-time thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, they literally only extended it to Crump, and he was like, "Could I maybe squeeze one more in there?"
Yeah, and that was very hard, and I don't think.
Ow!
Yeah,
This guy is super Charlie horse.
It's called in a lot of favors for that.
Ow! Oh my God! I got a crucial Charlie horse right now.
Dude, don't you hate that?
Oh, it's the worst. Hold on, I gotta stand up. Oh, That's how you get rid of it. Aside from eating a banana, you stand up. Oh my God. Usually if you stand up and walk on it, it goes away. Oh, it's not going away. Oh my God. Yeah, so I got a Franklin Arms binary trigger. Oh my God. In the Scorpion Evo. And I love it. I think it's highly effective. And
As
it's
long as you have
basically
124 grain.
Yeah, for the HK. Yeah,
Yeah.
for the Scorpion, I haven't had that
No,
issue.
the 115 grain will run fine without a binary trigger. It's just the 124 grain is better for binary.
Yeah, I haven't had that issue with the Scorpion, but I do hear that with the HK, that's a thing. So I went and bought, excuse me. So I went and bought 1,000 rounds of 124 grain brass because I know I'm going to be running an ass load through the HK with a binary trigger. So I also got a binary trigger in the Scorpion, which gives that thing like so much more. I mean, that is like a straight sub gun with a binary trigger in it. And of course, you still have the option of semi, but I also got an original Fostech Echo trigger in my 10.3 inch Dark 18, the Mark 18 CQBR.
Yeah.
Secret Squirrel is a good plan, but sucks you won't be able to feature the unspeakable metal chunks in question. What? The AFT making felons by the tens of millions. I think the time has come, ladies and gentlemen. Bro, it's getting crazy and crazier. And they not only don't show any indicator of stopping, they literally are telling us that they're going to double in size and 5x their budget. So, and give the families of ATF agents that are killed in the line of duty supporting gun control $50,000. I mean, they're literally lining this up to be like, hey, we're going to attack, the general public, which this is absolutely crazy. Anyway, sorry, I'm not telling anyone to do anything at all. All I'm saying is, I believe that this is the best time, that is the premier time for peaceful mass compliance, peaceful civil disobedience, and like they don't understand. I mean, they probably do. They don't understand the scale of like how much terrible shit is going to happen to all these companies and businesses and families and people. Like I literally was planning on, quitting my job and going off into running my business, DLD Hardware, and my channel full time because I don't want to work for anyone else anymore. I want to do something that supports the cause, help people, build guns, which DLD Hardware does that. And there are not that many of them that currently that is true. Jesus, this Charlie horse is crazy, dude. I've never had one like this.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Oh my God. But anyway, the whole thing is this. Now, because of what they're doing, if they're, removing frame blanks, then that will, by proxy, remove jigs. So now my company, DLD Hardware, is going to be negatively impacted by what they're doing. So let's say if I had already quit my job, they would be literally taking my ability to support my family away from me. And they're already doing that to hundreds of other companies that sell frame blanks. It's total bullshit. And we need to stand up for it, for them. But anyway, it only gets worse as you get older. Are we talking about Charlie horses or the ATF? Because I think both are true. Oh, mother of pearl. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and get this show on the road or off the road or whatever. Crump, thank you for coming on. Let everyone know who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
John Crump News, John Crump Alive. Read me over at AmmoLand. Also, I work as special projects for GOA. And don't ask me
Awesome.
what special projects is because I am the, I guess you would say, the messer upper. I would say I'm a fixer, but it's more of effing shit up for the good guys.
Chances are, if they do ask you, you can't talk about it.
No. I do like a lot. It's just a bunch of stuff. Work with federal affairs, work with legal, stuff like that.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, well, yeah, and you're right. Charlie horses do come from dehydration, and I didn't bring my water with me. My voice is all dry. And I've been talking my freaking head off for the last like 7 hours because of how pissed I am about everything that's happened. So, guys, this is taking tyranny to another level. We need to stand up and peacefully fight for our natural rights. This is ridiculous. I am going on record to say that I am completely against everything that has happened. I am completely against any rule, law, restriction, sanction on the right of self-preservation and any tool that you choose to do it. So they can take a hike, kick rocks, pound sand, that kind of thing. Ow! Anyway, so I'll end the stream as I always do, exactly the same way, guys. Rule number one is to be kind. It's so important that we're kind to every single person we come across, even those with differing beliefs. That's how we change minds. You never know that brief little impact you could have on somebody. It could change your life, literally. Rule number two is live a life of care, compassion, contribution, give to others. When you bless others, you become blessed. That's just the way the world works. A hand that's open to give is open to receive. So contribute to others, your life will get bigger. Rule number three, because we know that the only way for us to defeat evil is with good men skilled in violence, make sure that you are constantly becoming as highly skilled in violence as you possibly can be. It is your responsibility. And be safe, be dangerous, and keep that thing on you. Not like this thing. I mean, keep a knife on you. That's rule number 47. But keep your gun on you 24/7. There's never a reason to not carry a gun, okay? If you carry something for self-preservation, the only time that you should remove it is when you are not concerned about preserving your life, which should be always, unless you're in the shower, and that's when your shower gun comes into play. So all you guys, all the channel members out there, come out PLA, Bob, Marconi, Mike McClune, Fire Rodder, Too Many Choices, Barton Fink, Safeline, Rusty, Kurt24, Bob Key ASC, Joe Morris, C&T Designs and Arms. Thank you for coming on earlier as well, brother. Appreciate all you guys. Love all y'all. And all you guys that I didn't get to mention too, I apologize. I just know we have to bring this to an end. So thank you, all of y'all. I appreciate all y'all. And like I said, be safe, be dangerous, and stay strapped or get clapped. Bye, y'all.